I want to convey my heartiest congratulations, thanks, and gratitude to all of our viewers and our well-wishers across the globe on our 7th annual Yoga and Health Expo. Preserving the beauty of our world and maintaining a sustainable ecosystem requires each individual to take responsibility for their actions against nature and no longer be complacent with the current state of the planet. We as people also need to be united and not dependent on the government to shoulder our duties and take action on us. The yogic way of life provides solutions to global warming, causes irreversible damage to our oceans, forests, and reducing the livable habitat available to the animals, and senseless violence against other sentient beings. Our organization believes in the yogic approach to shape our attitudes, our habits, and our general way of life to be congruent with our philosophies and ethics of yoga, to garner spiritual insight and tranquility with nature through insightfulness to protect Mother Earth. My journey has presented me with many challenges to overcome, but I was fortunately surrounded by a community of people who have shown me love and support along the way. I look forward to seeing everyone today and looking forward to our 8th Yoga and Health Expo next season. Thank you so much for being here joining us today. Much love. Aditya Tevatia. Well, what a beautiful message from our founder and our visionary today to kick off our expo. And as I mentioned, if you're just joining in, we have a beautiful program set for you today. We are going to be hearing from some international speakers joining us around the world and joining us on this beautiful conversation as we navigate this new world that we are in today. We are also going to be having a yoga session with one of our local yoga experts, as well as a beautiful sound bath meditation to get into our bodies and feel that tranquil happiness to restore peace within ourselves today. So get comfortable and find a nice spot. Make sure you have enough room to move, and we're going to jump into the day. Now, so much love has gone into putting on this virtual event, and so I do want to take just a few quick moments to say a very special thank you to all of our sponsors and our contributors who have made today a special day. So I want to say a very special thank you to Western Community College for hosting us here today for our virtual expo. I also want to say a special thank you to Simon Fraser University, Base Stranger Technologies, AAA Auto Collision, Barat Jewelers, ZTV Canada, Choices Markets, SW Media Group, Design 360, Danju Dental Care, TWR Home Staging, Imprint, as well as Dermamed, Samco, and A Master Media. Again, thank you so much to all of our sponsors for making today possible. Now, without further ado, we are going to jump into our first speaker, which I am so very excited that she is here joining us today. And I can't wait for her to share her beautiful insight with us all together. Now, I want to introduce her here. Her name is Marlene Watson-Tara. She's a vegan health counselor, an educator, and author. With over 40 years in the health industry as an activist and vegan, her mission is to encourage people worldwide to switch to whole foods plant nutrition lifestyle. As a lover of nature and animals and a huge passion for human ecology, together with her husband Bill, they have formed the Human Ecology Project, and her latest book, Go Vegan, is now available worldwide. As I mentioned, she's joining in all the way from the UK today, and we are so grateful to have her here. Please welcome Marlene Watson-Tara. Hi, Marlene.
Unmute her. Unmute her. Can you hear me now? Oh dear. What's happened here? Hello, hello. I'm going on mute.
Hi, Marlene.
Oh, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Please take it away.
I lost you. I thought you had enough of me before I even started.
No worries. We can hear you now. Take it away.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So thank you, Rachel, and thank you to the International Yoga Festival and Health Expo for putting on again another fantastic educational program that everybody around the world can join for free. And I hope what I have to say today is helpful to everybody, and you pick up some great points and become passionate activists and join us in service for a healthy world. So I would like to share my my screen, my PowerPoint. Let's see. Where has my screen PowerPoint gone? Oh dear. Do you have screen share on for me? There you go. Okay. Can you see my slides, Rachel?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Marlene.
Fantastic.
It looks beautiful.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to start, if that's all right. And go vegan, it's easy. That's my message for the world. So health, animals and nature have been at the heart of everything basically that I've taught for the last 40 years. And the world is changing, and the world is changing fast. And having a strong foundation when these winds of change come is of paramount importance. So, you know, there's something about veganism that some people do not find easy, but the difficulty is not inherent in veganism, but in our culture. And so many people live in their head and they overthink the concept. Many people think, how do I start? Where do I begin? And it's so simple. You take any animal foods that you're using, take them off to the side, and you start to incorporate more whole grain and beans and pulses and fruits and vegetables. That is basically it. And you know, we can all do it right now. And if I could, I would come and stir the pot for every one of you. That's how passionate I am about trying to bring everybody on board to make this happen. It's really important. So why go vegan? Well, there are so many reasons, of course. My message for the world is that animals are here, you know, they're here with us to share the planet. They're not here for us to use. And common sense tells us all that if we refuse to pay for animal products, we would stop the demand. Sales would plummet. And if you think about it, the industrial food system have reduced food that people are eating down to just something that can be produced in a lab. It doesn't even resemble food anymore. And 75% of the destruction of soil, water, and biodiversity are coming from industrial agriculture. And this is contributing, as much as I'm sure many of you know, up to 70% of the greenhouse gases that are driving climate change. Now, my husband Bill Tara's coming on later, and he's going to be covering all this in great depth. Chemical agriculture also doesn't return organic matter and fertility to the soil, because it demands a lot more water, because it's destroying the soil's natural water holding capacity. So we could actually feed the whole world with the grain that we're feeding to livestock. I mean, if we just think about that. And if you're feeling the same connection as I do, which I hope you do, that we're all connected, there's about 1 billion people starving every day in the world. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have about 1 billion people eating themselves to death. The craziness has to stop. We have to try and bring this balance back into some form of sensibility, you know. So if we're eating food as grown, as nature intended, that's where we get robust health and passion for. You know, another thing, Bill and I see a lot of people suffering with depression and mental health issues. And when they start to come to our workshops and classes and they change their diet, they say, Marlene, I feel like someone's just lifted a veil off my head, off my face. I can see clearly, you know, their energy changes. You see the light coming back into their eyes. It's just such an incredible gift. So, you know, for me, that's why I'm so passionate about sharing that there's nothing new. You know, a vegan approach to living is centuries old, since the times of thinking back to some greats like Pythagoras and Leo Tolstoy and George Bernard Shaw and Isaac Bashevis Singer, to name just a few. But, you know, you don't need to be a Nobel Prize winner to help people adopt and understand the importance of living a vegan life. So, you know, for me, there's so many messages that I love to share. One of them being ahimsa. I have been a long time yoga teacher. I was really in the 70s, the crazy Jane Fonda of Scotland teaching aerobics before anyone even really knew what aerobics was. So, you know, passion for fitness and health has been through my whole life, really. But ahimsa, as we all know, it's a religious philosophy that believes that all life, including animals, which are sentient, is sacred. So, you know, it's a key virtue in the dharmic religions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. And as a yoga teacher of many decades, it's my passion and I feel responsibility to be able to explain what ahimsa is and that I live through these principles by not harming another living being. So, you know, the principle of non-violence toward all living creatures is fundamental. I'm very blessed, really hugely blessed in my life that I have the most incredible friends, incredible colleagues who have spent their life dedicated to making the world a better place for humans and non-humans. Many of these people, I'm sure you must know, Professor Colin Campbell. I won't go through them all, or I'll be here for the whole day, but, you know, collectively here we have top epidemiologists, medical doctors, surgeons, doctors, my beloved husband, psychologists, oceanographers, professors of law, professors of animal and human rights. I mean, these are I can call these people my friends. They talk the truth. They have dedicated their life. So I just want you to know that, you know, we're not lone rangers. We work with anybody that has the same spirit, the same soul that wants to just keep pushing this message out. But one very special person I do have to mention, and that's my 95-year-old vegan mama who is a Scottish warrior and tells me all the time to never give up, you know. And, you know, she became vegan very late in life. You know, she didn't eat so much animal food, but she would eat fish sometimes. And then one day she said, you know, I don't even need this. I'm really a vegan. So hence why my latest book was called Go Vegan. And that was for you, Mum. And she's coming next month. She's flying down from Scotland to visit Bill and I. She's incredible, walks everywhere, doesn't take any medication, you know. I mean, so that's what I would like to see, the whole world being happy and healthy at that age. So I want to ask you all to try and think about this evening or today. What is your motivation? You know, and there's many different motivations for different people, and it could be their health or the animals or the environment. So if it's your health, you know, we see every day so much disease, also unnecessary, so much suffering, also unnecessary. And for me, our message is always that health is everything, and without health, everything is nothing. What do you have if you don't have your health, you know? So if that's what's important for you, that's fantastic. If your motivation, like me, is the animals, billions of beautiful sentient animals slaughtered every year. And, you know, if you don't know this, humans are actually outnumbered by farm animals at any given time on this planet 3 times, threefold. It's incredible. So perhaps your motivation is the environment. You know, we care about future generations, children growing up. What are we leaving them when I look outside the window, you know? So if you're passionate about the environment, it's time to take action. We must all join together, because it's important to know all the living organisms, they exist as interconnected parts. They're not separate, you know. We're all together in this web that we call life. So nothing is superfluous, no element, from the tiniest microbe to the biggest giant animal. We're all here together. Now, you know, it's always important, I like to share with people, who are we? Who is this person, Marlene? What's she doing, what she's doing? You know, and we all have a passion for whatever's made us waking up in the world and life. And for me, when I was very young, I came across this man, Dennis Burkett, an incredible human. He was a surgeon that studied in Edinburgh, and he went to do great work in Uganda and actually discovered why there was no cancer there, and it was all about fibre. So ever since then, You know, I teach the whole world about fiber, fiber, and you know, most people's diet lacks so much fiber. And if you remember back to what I said in the beginning, we're feeding our gut, you know, so that is one of the most important messages that I can share with everybody. Fiber, 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 long health, longevity, honestly. So we're all walking history books, and we all think about, well, you know, why are we doing what we do? So when you find your passion, as I did at a very young age, you can't stop talking about it, you know, and it's just so fantastic. So how do we create harmony with our environment? You know, part of what Bill and I teach, and I think Bill will touch on this a lot more, we've got to create harmony with our ecosystem. If you imagine that you're a tree and you're receiving beautiful nutrients through this healthy soil, balanced nourishment, your root system is external, you're going to thrive, you're going to flower with fruit or whatever, beautiful flowers. Well, if you think about a human body, the small intestine is the opposite. Its internal, the root system on the human body is internal, and it's in the small intestine. And these villi, they take all the nourishment from the nutrients of what you're eating, the soil, from the soil, and that's what they create our microbiome from. So if we kill the soil outside, we're killing the soil inside our gut. It's that simple. So I love to try and get everybody to understand in a very Walt Disney fashion, really, that the ecological crisis that we have outside is caused by eating a toxic diet. So we're creating this huge imbalance with personal health and our relationship to nature. And nature rules. Nature can quite happily do without us humans, you know. That's obvious. We're killing nature, but you know, we're all going to have to just keep waking up every day and thinking about even cultural philosophy, thinking about civilization and how it refers to one that obtains material and spiritual, you know, harmonious development. We must live in harmony. Think about humankind as nature and society, mankind and mankind and society. So to coexist in harmony with all is how we create health for our ecosystem. That's where we get this healthy ecosystem. We're all connected, animal, plant, human, nothing is separate. Now, I'm sure those of you that are vegan probably get fed up answering this question. Oh, where do you get your protein? It's the number one question we hear all the time, year after year. Well, we all know protein is a macronutrient, right? It's essential for building muscle mass, and people think only of it as eating animals, that's where you get protein, but it's in everything that grows. And chemically, if you're interested, protein is comprised of amino acids, which are basically oxygen compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And most people couldn't even really tell you what protein is if you asked them. If I said to them, could you tell me what the amino acids are? You know, they wouldn't know an amino acid if it came up and said, hi, I am an amino acid. So what we like to do is we like to empower everyone with knowledge, because knowledge is power. So the more you know, the more you can help and teach others. And, you know, a few years, Bill and I, we lived in Galway. It was very beautiful, and we ran some programs and courses there with Galway Rural Development. And along came quite a few farmers to our workshops, which was a very interesting concept. And lo and behold, you know, they all had different diseases, but they all went vegan. And consequently, I saved all these beautiful pigs. Now, I just wanted to tell you a wee story about pigs if you're not aware. They are the most incredible animals, you know. They snuggle close to one another. They prefer to sleep nose to nose. They love natural surroundings. They play just like puppies and kittens, and they communicate constantly. But the most beautiful thing that I want you to know about pigs is they actually sing to their young when they're nursing, right? I mean, it was such an incredible experience for me to even see this. But the other thing about pigs is there's so many myths, you know, people say you eat like a pig or you make a mess. Pigs are so clean, I can't tell you, you know, and they're very particular about chewing and savouring their food. So we humans could learn much from these creatures, because let me tell you, humans bite and swallow. They do not chew. They forget they have 32 molars for chewing and they don't use them. And we do not have stomach in the teeth. So there's a good tip for you for digestion. Now, when we eat food as grown, changing diets for people rarely comes along the path of least resistance. Trust me, we've been doing health counselling for 40 years. Oh, I can't do that, it's too difficult, or this or that. So we always say, go back to your motivation. Why are you doing this? What's your motivation? Because when you stick to your motivation, it's second nature, it's not difficult. But I made up a little mantra, and no matter where we are in the world, I have everybody singing it, and it's very easy to remember. So if you remember one thing about it today, please remember my little mantra about how food makes the blood, and that's who we become. But you know, there's so many exciting choices in veganism, and you know, one thing is just people become so stressed about trying to make the change, and I wish I could go to every kitchen in the house. Trust me, that's my mission. So watch out, I could be in your kitchen next. That's what I want to do. It's so simple. People complicate it, and it's not complicated. Trust me. So let's take a wee look at what's happening in the athletic world. Oh my goodness, all over the world, you know, all these lists of vegan athletes are growing because they know they're at the top of their game since they've changed their diet. Because if you think about it, when they need to get stronger and faster without the artery clogging foods of eating saturated fats from animals, their health improves. Any pain or injury exacerbates and heals very quickly. The recovery is unbelievable. And studies show, hundreds of studies show, that plant-based diets are very anti-inflammatory. So very low in saturated fats. So it helps to improve the blood thickness, the viscosity, if you will, and that helps more oxygen reach the muscles. And then when you have more oxygen in the muscles, you become faster. So your athletic performance improves. So, you know, it's a win-win situation for athletes as well. I want to talk just a little bit about what's happening with industrial food systems and how they've destroyed the biodiversity of the planet, both through the spread of monocultures, which is just growing the one thing all the time, and through the use of poisons, which we know are killing the birds and the bees and the butterflies and the insects. But on the other hand, biodiversity, the intensive and poison-free agriculture, it produces more nutrient per acre while rejuvenating our planet. So that's what we're wanting to spread. You know, if I could be out there growing vegetables every day, I would be, but we're not in that situation right now where we are. But the thing is, I have so much good news about going vegan. 17 times more food per acre you can grow with plants. Vegetables store well. Whole grains and beans store for years. Vegans are so, amazing at saving water. We save something like 1,100 gallons of water a day. Being vegan cuts your carbon footprint in half. I mean, you know, the good news about going vegan is endless. You know, if you asked me to make a list, I would be on here for the whole of the seminar. Here I am in our garden. When we lived in Portugal for many years, Bill and I teaching there at the Institute, and you know, it's such a joy to see what you can just grow from dry sand, soil, whatever. I mean, nature never fails to amaze you. But in the process, you know, you can improve your soil fertility and your crop productivity. Now, I have always used a veganic gardening method. Veganic meaning using no animal manure. We don't need it. So, you know, growing vegetables in an ecological way, using green manures, crop rotation, mulching, and other sustainable things. But it's interesting to know that industrial agriculture uses a whopping 75% of our land mass, right? All the fossil fuels, the intensive chemicals, the intensive monocultures only produce 30% of the food that's eaten. Meanwhile, small biodiverse farms, people that are growing small farms, growing vegetables, they're only using 25% of the land, but they're providing 70% of the food. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? And if we keep going along the route of the industrial agriculture, we'll have a dead planet and one with no life and no food. Now, I think Bill's going to get into this a lot more about biodiversity, so I'll move on from that. As I said there, we don't have a facility right now where we are teaching to grow, so I have my sprouter out every day. I sprout mung beans and lentils and chickpeas and aduki beans, and it's pennies, you know, it doesn't cost a fraction of what it costs to go and buy these sprouts from supermarkets or whatever. But it's always good to have some raw, fresh sprouts. And if you think about rotating the tiers of the sprouter, mine are always jam-packed. They make great snacks as well, but I have them in salads and sandwiches and wraps. And remember thinking about a sprout, it's just the beginning growth of a seed. So it's really not that much different when you start to see the green specks popping up through the earth in the springtime. When you keep the seeds moist and these rotated sprouters, they reward you with unbelievable nourishing sprouts that are loaded with enzyme, chlorophyll, great for your liver. So, get on board and start making your own sprouts. It's so easy. Now, this is our human ecology pyramid. So this is how we live, and you can find a copy of that on our websites. You can download a copy of what to eat from our websites as well, and it gives you an overview. The dietary recommendations that Bill and I use are from our teachings of macrobiotics, and if that's not familiar to you, it's just two words, macro and bios. Macro meaning big, large, bios, life. So it's living your life to your full potential, living the big life, the large life. And our work's based on the principles of Oriental philosophy from traditional Chinese medicine system, the 5 transformations of energy. And it's the only thing that's ever made sense to me in my whole life, apart from what my husband says, This is very true, because if you think about it, we balance our life with our environment, so a simple vegan plant-based diet balanced to your environment, where we eat from, where we live from our environment, brings great health. It's just so fantastic. So something to think about. And, my suggestion is this: if you begin incorporating more whole grain, more beans, legumes, nuts, seeds and things into your diet, start cooking some very easy vegan recipes that appeal to you. I always say to clients, what's your favorite food? Mexican, Italian, Japanese, Thai, whatever. And I teach them how to veganize it. So, you just take the meat and the dairy out. It's not complicated. So that's something to think about. And when we plan ahead, we're always ready to succeed in simplifying our meals and just keeping things to a minimum. Bill and I share success stories all the time with our new clients. And, when we get them excited, we know they're going to do it. If it's not fun, they won't do it. I mean, if it becomes a chore, it shouldn't be a chore. You should jump out of bed every day with vitality, knowing that what you're doing is not only for yourself, but for the world. And I mean, we say you should have such a big dream that you probably can't fulfill it in this lifetime. So that's something to think about. Now, I don't like to use the word willpower. What is willpower? No, I think we all need to have more skills. So we learn skill power, okay? So you've already got your motivation. Think back to your why. Was it your health, the animals, or the environment? Always keep that in mind. Why are you motivated? Why are you doing what you're doing? And know when there's a will, there's a way. So, plan your meals ahead of time. People always say, I don't have time to cook, but then, maybe they're watching 3 hours of television. I don't know. It just depends where you put your importance. So, but steering your family towards veganism means cooking the same meals for all of you, stocking up on healthy staples. Our kitchen's filled with glass jars of beans and whole grain and all sorts, and batch cooking, using meals 2 or 3 times. If I'm making a big pot of minestrone, it lasts 3 lunches. I don't stand there every day and cook, 7 different dishes. No. I'm very organized. You should go and read my quick meals for busy people on our blog, or there's a video you can watch me doing what I do. Taste bud rehab, I always like to say, because, here's the thing. What we teach is the 5 tastes on our tongue: sweet, sour, salt, bitter, pungent, okay? If you satisfy all these tastes by cooking, and I do, you don't have cravings. If you're having something that's hot and spicy and too much chili, your body wants sugar. If you're having something that's so sweet and dessert-like, your body wants salt. So you've got to be clever and understand that, food is meant to be balanced and not meant to be over sweet or over salty. And there's also another interesting thing called dopamine, and there's a little neurotransmitter in your brain here. And if you keep feeding it salt or sugar or too much of whatever, it keeps wanting it. It's not you. You're not saying, oh, I want a burger or a cheeseburger. It's dopamine. So make dopamine happy. You can go to our website again, download a free ebook called Freedom from Cravings. Now, here's the most easy, simple thing that I have ever taught, okay? People say to me, it's too difficult, I can't do it. Now, okay, I'm not in a journey because my life is my life. I'm very light black. Here I am, this is what I do. But I designed this 4-week program and it's been hugely successful. So I teach people 4 breakfasts, 1 week, 4 lunches the next week. They're halfway there. 4 mains or entrees, week 3, 2/3 there. Week 4, 4 desserts, done deal. And I tell them to just keep using those recipes and until they feel confident and they're back in their kitchen and hey presto. I mean, the success has been so fantastic. So that's another way to look at it if that's what you need to do. The other thing is when you've mastered yourself, you help and teach others how to do this. It's so simple, right? And then you become a lighthouse, and this is Bill and I's life's work too. We now have graduates of our courses in 28 countries who are teaching macrobiotic vegan nutrition. Some of them, you know, have become fantastic private chefs. Some teach cooking classes, some work in natural food stores. Some have even opened vegan restaurants. They're doing great work, you know, and it's very exciting. But, you know, you can share this with friends, families, colleagues. And who knows, maybe you'll even come and teach with Bill and I one day. That would be a great joy because we need to keep switching on those lighthouses. Too much darkness in the world, we need more light. Something I wanted to share, which is very passionate to Bill and I in our teaching of macrobiotics. One of the founders or one of the Japanese philosophers that brought macrobiotics from Japan to the US. I want to say that eating a diet, a vegan diet, is not elitist. There's this whole philosophy, you know, okay, I can be training chefs 1 week for royal families, which I do. And the next week, I could be creating recipes that I can live on £1 a day for Action Against Hunger. So it's the same food, but don't tell them I said that, okay? It's just how I present it, how I serve it. This is not an elitist diet, you know. So there's a beautiful parable, 1 grain, 10,000. And what that means is George Shaw, he used it to express the importance of giving to others. The phrase refers to 1 single grain of rice, when germinated, eventually gives birth to thousands and thousands of grains. And we should follow nature's examples and you know, let that be a guiding principle for how we should live our lives and follow in the path of nature that gives continuously. Look at what we get every day for free: water, air, food, soil. I mean, nature, the path of nature is just phenomenal. And if anyone gives something valuable to us, we should pay it back 10,000 times, pay it forward. So that's what that means. And it's a very, very lovely parable. So, if we didn't feed the grain to the livestock, we would be feeding the world. I said that at the very beginning of my presentation. But one of the top drawer foods that we use in our diet and our teaching is short grain brown rice. It's one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. And you can make rice porridge, which we have in the morning. You can make burgers and risottos and, you know, all sorts of delicious, you know, balls of whatever, pumpkin balls with rice and stuff. Now, I can break that down and buy a bag of rice. That works out about 16 pence a portion. How can that possibly be an expensive, elitist way to live? You know, it's crazy. So when I do some soup, these are all recipes from my latest book. When I do soups or whatever salads, people say, oh, I don't have time to cook. Also, I picked this one deliberately to show you. This has red pepper, onion, garlic, spring onions, coconut cream, coriander and chives. It's not even cooking, it's stirring the pot, it's warming the pot, because you can buy everything if you desire, chopped, ready to use. I don't, because of course I'm a chef and I cook and I love chopping vegetables and it's wonderful. But if that's your deal, go for it, you know, do it, buy everything ready, you're just putting it in. You're not then taking something that's come off a conveyor belt, it's fresh and natural. And some tips here, you know, about making weekly menu plans, and the more you cook, the faster you become. That's how easy it is. Now, these little beauties I make from beans, from aduki beans, and again, they're very, very inexpensive. There's no cooking. Kids love them. I developed these for a little program I called Tasty Tips for Kids. So I give them lots of things that obviously they're not near the oven. or cooking in the stove, and they love making the balls and whatever, and they're absolutely delicious. You know, things like lentils. I mean, they're the oldest cultivated. Oh my goodness. Oh, sorry. I put it on mute. I don't know why that happened. Apologies. They are one of the oldest legumes, and we can make dals and burgers and bolognese and salads and patties. I mean, the list is endless, you know. Almond mung bean burgers, they cost pennies to make. You know, I could wax lyrical about these. These were one of the recipes I used in the pound a day, because I got 36 burgers out of one little pack of mung beans. I soak and reconstitute and soak and reconstitute until they just start to sprout. Incredible. And for dessert, you know, you can keep it simple. You can do something as simple as apple sauce. You know, cook up batches and keep in glass jars in the refrigerator. The list is just endless. And then, of course, you can have your cake and eat it. Now, we don't eat cakes like this, you know, it's in a special occasion thing, but I'm trying to bring the world to our philosophy and understanding that what we can have from plants and vegan food, you don't need to use any cream, milk, butter, cheese, nothing, you know. So everyday desserts, we enjoy very simple foods, fresh fruits, and food is life, you know. And this is something that, if you think about it, forgive the self-promotion here, but this is obviously my book that I'm trying to change the world with, and it's coming out in Chinese. And Adit is very kindly trying to help me get a publisher in India for it. Thank you for that, sir. Because we've got to keep reaching out to every corner of the world. But our vision, making vegan the new normal, is what makes me jump out of bed in the morning. That is in my heart and soul, my work for decades, and I can't stop until I take my last breath, you know. And if we think about what food is, it's not us, it's the farm, it's nature. It's not the farmers, the nature gives us the soil. If I was to show you 1 teaspoon of soil right now, it would have 1 million microorganisms in that 1 team of soil. It's just incredible. So, last but not least, you got to speak your truth and be an activist, okay? I'm still waiting for, you know, one person saying to me, but why, Marlene, you know? I write to the world every day. I write to the Pope, the Queen, the Prime Ministers, people all over the world, you know, they're human, the same as me. One of them might have a wake-up call one morning and say, we've got to do this, but governments will not change. It takes communities to change and bring on more people and make the army stronger, that we're all pushing the rock up the hill together. So never be afraid to speak your truth, to speak from your heart, you know, and don't run blindly with the crowd. Be proud of being different, you know, be proud of being a pioneer, and your advocacy work will change the life of so many people, you know. The world needs all of us. And if I think back to Copernicus, this is something that always makes me smile, you know. Remember, like my 18 members, they have their vision. Like Copernicus knew, he thought it would be impossible to convince everyone about the earth and the sun, but he did. So going vegan for me is simply a choice that we can make, and we can all do it right now. So I invite every single one of you to join Bill and I in service for a healthy world for humans and non-humans alike. And thank you for your time, and thank you for your passion for being here today.
Wow, Marlene Watson-Tara, thank you so much.
I'm so sorry, I can't believe, I don't know why my phone rang and it was
well, you know, we're all adjusting to this virtual world that we're in right now. And so we have hiccups along the way, but you know, the most amazing thing is we're here and we're together, and hiccups and not. So thank you again so much, Marlene Watson-Tara. And we are going to just... And again, if you would like more from Marlene today, you can definitely check her websites out that she mentioned at macrovegan.org, and also her other website with her partner Bill at thehumanecologyproject.com. And we're going to type that down below in the chat as well. All right, everyone. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to be giving away our first prize giveaway of our 7th Yoga and Health Expo. We're going to be giving away a beautiful water bottle, as you can see here. And also, we are going to be giving away one of our beautiful yoga mats here. And also, something very special to add on top of that, we are going to be giving away a free online yoga session with one of our yoga experts here today. All right. Now, the only thing you need to do to win the prize today is to jump on to our social media, jump onto our Instagram at Yoga Health Expo and tag us in a story. Maybe you can hashtag one of your favorite takeaways so far in the expo today, and we are going to be announcing our winner in our program very shortly. So make sure you do that. All right, we're also going to type it in the chat below so that you can follow along. All right, it is now that time in our segment that we are going to take a little yoga break. We're going to get into our bodies. We're going to find some alignment. So at this time, we would like to ask you to make some room wherever you're joining in from today, your living room, your dining room, your bedroom, your basement, outdoors. And make sure you grab your yoga mat and some water. And I will be introducing to you our incredible local yoga expert coming up in one moment time. All right, so we will begin our session coming up momentarily. Thank you so much, and see you soon. All right, everyone. At this time, hopefully you are on your yoga mats and have found a nice, comfortable space to move. I am very excited to welcome the wonderful Wendy Issa. It is our great honor for her to be here joining us today at Western Community College for our 7th Yoga and Health Expo. Wendy is an international energy, breathwork coach and meditation teacher with over 10 years experience. And Wendy began her training in Costa Rica before moving here to Canada in 2012. She was born and raised in the beautiful Ecuador, and she emerges her heritage into her teachings and focuses on heart opening and mindfulness and alignment work that expands the breath. I hope you're ready to jump into your bodies today. Doesn't that sound like bliss? What a beautiful gift, and I'm very honored to welcome Wendy Issa. Wendy, take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me just make sure that everybody can hear me. And welcome to everybody. Thank you so much, Marlene, for that amazing presentation. And it's so wonderful to be here. It's so amazing to share with all of you guys this 7th Yoga Festival Health and Expo to introduce us a little bit more into the health style and the water style of not only vegetarian and vegan, but also complementing that with amazing movement and great nutrition. So without further ado, make sure that you are super comfortable and that you are sitting up. And I have these amazing, beautiful people behind me that are going to be joining us today from wherever you are. So make sure that you have a bottle of water, a couple of blocks if you need to. If you don't have, you can feel free to bring some books or some cushions around. I will try to provide you with as much modifications as you need. So feel free to also adjust it to whatever it is that you're feeling right now in your body, okay? So take a moment and sit down very comfortably, and we're going to close our eyes. As we close our eyes, take a deep breath in One more. And sigh it out. Before our practice, take this moment to create an intention. An intention that is not only going to stay with you on the mat today, but an intention that you're going to carry away throughout throughout the day, or even through this new week. Today, our intention, our collective intention, is an offering to the collective health. As we're still living through hard times worldwide, it is good to tap into that offering, into that place of gratitude from this moment, from this space. Being grateful for our bodies can do. So in every inhale, we bring that gratitude, and on every exhale, we let go a bit more of any kind of a stress that voluntarily or involuntarily we have put upon our shoulders. You can either keep your eyes closed, but bring your hands around your knees. Or you can open your eyes, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And start creating 3 big circles with your torso. And you can just go on your own rhythm. Your circles with your torso can be tiny circles, or it can be very big and exploring circles. You can go back to your sacrum on the inhale, and on the exhale, pushing your heart forward. And we reverse those circles, 3 circles to the other direction. One more. And bringing yourself back to center, lengthening the spine, we create those 3 neck rolls with your head. So you're gonna start in whichever direction again feels more comfortable for you. Depends on how your neck is feeling today. You may want to go a little bit deeper, trying to bring and brush your chest across with your chin. And we go 3 neck rolls to the other direction. Exploring, making sure those circles are big. And one more. And bring yourself back to center very slowly. Take a deep breath in. You can open your eyes if your eyes were closed. And on the exhale, we're going to slowly moving into tabletop. So we're going to go on hands and knees. Make sure your hands are directly underneath the shoulders, shoulder width apart. Knees directly underneath your hips, hip width apart, pointing the toes back. And your neck is not releasing or relaxing too much. Your neck keeps continuing the long spine. And on the inhale, we lengthen the spine, lengthening, lift up your head, look up. And on the exhale, bring the chin to the chest, curve your upper back, drag the belly button in. Inhale, lengthening the spine, melting the heart, rise your head up. Exhale, chin to chest, curve your upper back, drag the belly button in. And we'll go for one more. Inhale, lengthening the spine, melting the heart, rise up. Exhale, chin to chest, curve your upper back, drag the belly button in. Inhale, bring yourself back into neutral tabletop. And on the exhale, we're going to lift up the right leg all the way back. And you can either point your toes or foot on flex, whichever feels more comfortable for you, okay? I'm going to just do the normal point toes. So you're going to point your toes and then immediately flex them, okay? Squeeze those legs together. Take a deep breath in. Inhale, left arm also goes all the way to the front first. So we're going to stay here, stabilize, squeeze towards the midline. Right in there, you guys. Exhale, you're going to bend your right knee back. Take the left arm, lift it up to the sky, and see if we can find that right toes behind you. If not, that's totally okay. You can only let your left arm to keep on growing long towards the back. If you have your foot on your hand, kick on your hand as you lift a little bit more. One more deep breath in here. And on the exhale, slowly release your foot, bring yourself back to tabletop. Nice. And we're just going to swing the hips from side to side just to give them a nice, beautiful, relaxing mode in here. Good. And we go to the left side. Inhale, left leg opens up. Good. Point your toes or foot on flex, whichever is more comfortable for you. Exhale, right arm all the way to the front. Good. Now squeeze everything towards the middle. One more deep breath in. And on the exhale, bend your left knee and take the right arm all the way to the back. Good. If you can hold your foot, you're going to kick on that hand as you lift a little bit more. One more deep breath in. Nice. Exhale, slowly relaxing, coming back to center, tabletop. And again, we swing from side to side. Good. Deep breath in. Exhale, we're going to tuck the toes under. You can move your hands a little bit more wider and a little more towards the front, and we move in downward facing dog. Good. Nice. If it is the first downward dog of the day, feel free to start micro-bending one knee at a time so you can walk your dog on the same spot. Stay with the breath. Pushing a little bit more further up your sit bones. One more inhale. Side it out in here, feels fantastic. Good. This time inhale, rise to the toes. Exhale, go back down to your heels. One more inhale, rise up to your toes. Exhale, go back down to the heels. Nice. Inhale, right leg opens up to the sky. Exhale, right knee to the heart as we step between the hands. We prepare ourselves for our first high lunge. So before you do so, I highly encourage you to squeeze towards the midline. So imagine you're squeezing the right leg in and the left leg in, and rise both of the arms up to the sky. Good. Nice. So in here, you have different variations. You can either keep the arms straight, or you can bend the elbows into cactus shape. If you're doing so, make sure to squeeze your shoulder blades right in there. Feel that juiciness. Good. Breathing in, look straight ahead. And on the exhale, we're going to swing ourselves to warrior two. So you're going to flat your back foot, open both arms. Keep on going deeper on your front knee. Nice. Good. Make sure your front knee opens towards your pinky toe. Deep breath in. And on the exhale, exalted warrior. Right hand rises up all the way to the back. Nice. Lengthening through the entire front side in here. Breathing in. Exhale, we're going to come all the way down in cartwheel arms. Inhale to plank pose. We hit it up a bit. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana or knees, chest, forehead down. Inhale, open up, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. And breathe. Beautiful. Inhale, left leg opens up to the sky. Exhale, bend your knee and step forward. Nice. Inhale, squeeze the legs together. Arms rise up to the sky. And we move into cactus shape. Good. Squeezing those shoulder blades, don't forget that. You're going to need that juiciness. You're going to need that moment of squeeziness for our further poses. Breathing in. Exhale, open up on a warrior two. Front knee keeps bending itself, opening towards your pinky toe. Good. Make sure your back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat. Deep breath in. Exhale, left palm rises up and all the way behind, exalted warrior. One more deep breath in. Inhale, bring yourself back to center. Exhale, hands down. Inhale for plank pose. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana or knees, chest, forehead down. Pointing your toes, inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Side it out. One more. Side it out.
And last one. Good. Inhale, right leg opens up to the sky. And exhale, we step forward. Good. Inhale one more time. We go up into high lunge position. Nice. And on the exhale, we're going to send those arms to the front this time. So in here, we're going to be moving a bit more. Those arms are going to move into eagle arms. Right arm underneath, left on top. Cross as much as you can and tangle your arms. If that is not comfortable, you can feel free, you guys, to use any of those variations to place your hands over the shoulders, okay? Especially if we're having any kind of shoulder injury right now. Breathing in. Side it out. Good. Now squeezing everything you have right there with you. We're going to put a little bit more into that right leg, okay? So push deeply the sole of your foot on the mat. You really want to engage the quads, the thighs. Make sure those hips remain parallel towards one towards the other, okay? Deep breath in. Exhale, we're going to go halfway with the torso. Notice that there is more happening on the right leg. Transition slowly as you slowly pick and lift up the left leg. Warrior 3 with eagle arms. One more breath. Inhale, slowly lift yourself up, relaxing the arms to the side, mountain pose. Inhale, arms reach up to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms reach up to sky. Exhale, folding forward. Soften the knees if you need to go down, okay? Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, we step back into plank pose. Exhale, knees down, chest down, or Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Inhale, left leg rises up to the sky. Exhale, we step between the hands. Good. Deep breath in here, you guys. Inhale, we open up, high lunge. Nice. Arms swing up to the sky. Breathe. Inhale and exhale. I hope you guys are getting hot, because I am. Good. Exhale, both arms slowly towards the front. Inhale, left arm underneath, right on top this time. Cross as much as you can, eagle arms. If eagle, again, is not comfortable, do not push yourself. Give yourself the variations, okay? One more deep breath in. Exhale, start slowly leaning more towards the left foot. Nice. As you do so, you're going to start slowly lifting and picking up your right leg. You don't need to stray the leg if your balance is compromised. That's our goal though. Breathing in. One more. Keep kicking to the back. Exhale, lift yourself up, right foot next to your left, arms resting on the side. Take a moment in here, close your eyes, deep breath in. Side it out. One more. Inhale, arms rise up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, release. Let your spine go. Inhale, lengthening halfway, hands on the shins. Exhale, folding forward, hands on the mat. Inhale, we step back into plank pose for our last vinyasa of the day. Exhale, Chaturanga, knees, chest, forehead down. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Deep breath in. And bring your knees down, widen your knees. We move into a child's pose. Arms straight forward if that is comfortable for you. Allow your forehead to be touching on the mat. Allow your forehead to have that grounding attitude.
so your entire body can reset a bit. If your heartbeat is going a little bit faster, use your exhale to decrease the fast heartbeat. And when you are ready, we will meet sitting up and legs straight out. Good. If you need some kind of cushioning for your sitting, feel free to use it, okay? And you're going to bend your right knee, and we're going to open the right leg to the side. See if your right foot can go inside your thigh instead of inside your knee. Keep that knee free. With both of your hands, you're going to grab your thigh, and you're going to slowly open into the outside. So your sit bones are really grounded. Your left foot on flex, toes lifted up. Left hand is going to go inside your left foot or your left leg and start walking that left hand away from you. Wherever it is, stop, micro bend the elbow. Push that left arm against that left leg so your torso opens towards the right side. If it doesn't feel comfortable for shoulder, you are going to keep your hand on your hip or your low back. If it does, you're going to lengthen in yourself. Right arm rises up to the sky. On the exhale, right arm over the left ear or the left toes. You're going to try to reach towards your left toes. You don't need to go and grab, only if it feels comfortable for you. Breathing in. That side opening. If you notice you start curving in, keep yourself lengthened. So use that left arm to push away that left leg. But the left leg is really strong and steady. One more deep breath in where you are. Inhale, you're going to bring yourself back. Take the right hand, you're going to leave it behind you on the mat. Lengthening the spine, left hand outside the right knee, and opening to a twist. Use your exhale to go deeper on your twist. The last body parts that go into your twist are your neck, your head, your gaze. Noticing that your left sit bone is not creating any compromise by lifting itself up, so you keep both of your sit bones really grounded. Deep breath in. Go deeper on the exhale. And inhale, welcome yourself back to center. Nice. We're going to switch. Right knee in, straight the right leg, and left knee in, open to the side. Again, we pay attention that the left foot is not touching the knee. Both of the hands to open your thigh on both sides. Good. Right foot up. Deep breath in. Right hand inside your right leg. Walk your fingers away until they are comfortable. Micro bend the right elbow. Right arm pushes against the right leg to open that left side. Inhale, hand either on your hip or your low back. Or if it feels comfortable, you're going to lift it up and over your left ear. If it doesn't feel comfortable, you can always remain hand on your low back as long as your left shoulder keeps creating that expansion and opening towards the back. And notice that from side to side you can change. You always go according to what feels more comfortable for you. Deep breath in. Inhale, welcome yourself back to center. Take the left hand behind you. Good. Right hand is going to go outside your left knee. If you need to lift up your left knee so then you can have a good grip on your hand, that's okay too. Lengthening the spine on the inhale, on the exhale, go for a twist. So what we're trying to avoid in here is always the usual things that happen with our body compensation is that when we go into twist, immediately our right glute wants to lift itself up. So we remain it down. So it is only the twisting of the spine. One more fully deep breath in. Go deeper on the exhale. Inhale, welcome yourself back to center. Exhale, both of the legs are going to go towards the front. Good. Here, feel free to put a cushion underneath your knees or a block if that feels comfortable. You don't need to stray the legs if it doesn't, or if it's creating some kind of obstacle or challenge for your spine. Again, use both of the hands to turn out your hamstring area so sit bones can go deeper. Lengthening the spine, it is not about to reach your toes, it is about to create a lengthening from your spine as well as your hamstrings. So lengthening the spine on the exhale, walk your hands over your legs. Whatever you notice, there is some tension or tightness happening, you stay there. It is not about rounding the spine. It is not your nose touching your knees. If you would like a goal in here, I will highly encourage you to think in a way, your nose to your shins. Looking straight ahead. If it feels comfortable to grab your toes, you can go and grab your toes. If it doesn't feel comfortable, just holding around your shins. And hold around, grip it with your hands to pull yourself a bit more forward. That might be a new sensation that we feel right there. Two more deep breaths. We're almost there. Softening through the shoulders. Inhale, welcome yourself back to center. Good. On the exhale, we're going to bend both of your knees, remove any kind of cushions. You're going to walk a bit more forward and bring both of the hands around the knees and slowly but surely start rolling vertebrae by vertebrae on the mat. You might roll back, that's totally okay. First, allow your spine to touch back of your head. Deep breath in. Bring your awareness to the quality of your breath. Reminding yourself of your intention of this offering towards the collective health. And every exhale, let go of any stress that voluntarily or involuntarily you have put over your shoulders. And see if your belly can soften a little bit more as you drag your knees closer in. Open your knees a little bit wider than your shoulder width. Bring both of the arms inside your legs. Usually, happy baby, you will go and grab the outside of your feet. But for today, and if you haven't tried this before, I encourage you to grab your happy baby from your heels. So keeping both of the arms inside, but grab your hands around your heels and lift your feet higher to the sky and allow your arms to be heavy on your heels. So it's gravity working its way to this white happy baby. If you would like some movement, you can feel free to roll from side to side, but you don't have to. If you want a static happy baby and just enjoying the ride in here and how your arms get so heavy, that perhaps there is a new definition for you today on happy baby. Taking a deep breath in. Sigh it out. Notice that lengthening and relaxing of your belly and use that to your advantage. Go deeper on that happy baby. Last inhale in here. Nice. On the exhale, we're going to allow the heels to come to touch, as well as your toes. Use your hands to the outside. Close your knees in. And on the exhale, you're going to walk with your hands, your feet down on the mat. Arms resting on the side.
On the exhale, let your legs go. For what you guessed very correctly, Shavasana. The last asana into your practice. However, the most important pose. Make sure your eyes remain closed, relaxed. The gap between your eyebrows, your cheekbones, and your tongue, as well as your jawline, without any tightness. Stay there. Absorb and live through the moment. Usually Shavasana is the pose that we expect the most, but we don't enjoy while we are practicing. A good Shavasana should be held by maybe 3 to 5 minutes. That's the great time for your body to absorb the benefits of each movement, pose, posture that you have done through your practice. If you find that you're drifting off, give yourself permission to do so. Your brain is requiring that. Your body is perhaps a little bit more at the point of exhaustion today. Remembering yourself of the collective health. We're past the point of thinking individualistic. It is a moment to join hands, work together. And it all starts from how we take good care of ourselves. Move your right hand on your belly and your left hand on your heart. And I encourage you in here to take a moment to notice the quality of your breath again. Perhaps your heartbeat is balanced. It's not rushing. Your inhale and your exhale are matching. It's a cycle. And slowly start moving your toes and your fingers. Welcoming yourself back to this present. Bring your knees to your heart very slowly, without any hurry. And roll to the right side. On your next exhale, bring yourself back up into a comfortable seated posture. Keeping your eyes closed, deep breath in. And to tune back into the rest of our Yoga Festival Health Expo,
We're going to activate through 3 cycles of breath our mind so it's sharp, is able to absorb all the amazing information that our fantastic speakers have prepared for us. So we're going to inhale for 3, we're going to hold it for 3, and exhale for 6. So this is going to immediately awaken your parasympathetic system, okay? So everything that we will absorb is going to stay for longer into our memory. So take a deep breath in, exhale. We're going to inhale for 1, 2, 3, hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go back to your natural breath. This is a fantastic technique in moments of anxiety or exasperation or frustration. It's a moment to reset our entire system. As we join the hands together, we close this practice with a chant of one Om. Take a deep breath in. As you bow to yourself, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. And until we see each other again, Namaste. Thank you so much. And Rachel, we go back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy Issa, for such a beautifully inspired session. And thank you to your team for being here with us today. I feel so good. Doesn't that just feel so amazing? In alignment and beautiful bliss. Thank you, Wendy. Again, if anybody would like more from Wendy Issa, you can definitely check her out on her Instagram at Wendy Issa, and you can check out all of her resources on there and links so that you can continue to follow along and be inspired by Wendy. Now, also, I do want to make a quick announcement that I do want to congratulate. We found a winner who tagged us on our Instagram post there. I want to say a special thank you out there to Carrie McClellan joining in today from Hamilton, Ontario. Thank you so much for posting us up in your story, and we will be DMing you so that you can get a hold of your prize today from our 7th annual Yoga and Health Expo, and also a session with Wendy Issa, which is incredible. So congratulations, Carrie. All right, now before I welcome our next speaker today, I do want to first say, I want to say a special thank you to all of our sponsors, and one of them being Western Community College for having us here today. Thank you so much for hosting us virtually. I want to say a special thank you to Simon Fraser University, as well as Bay Stranger Technologies, AAA Auto Collision, Barat Jewelers, and all of our other sponsors for having us here today. Bill already started sharing his screen there, so sorry about that, everyone. I want to introduce to you our next speaker, Bill Terra. Bill is the founder of the Human Ecology Project, and he's been a health counselor, a teacher, an author, and also he has dedicated over 55 years to creating and building health education in centers in both and North America. We also want to say that his innovative and creative teachings of traditional approaches to health, healing, and personal development has taken him to over 20 countries around the world, leading as a seminar leader. And I think he's just returned back from one of those trips as well. He is so fabulous. His latest book, called How to Eat Right and Save the Planet, is now available worldwide. It is our great pleasure to welcome our one and only, our friend, Bill Terra. Hi, Bill. Hello, Bill. Oh, I just see you're on mute there. So there you are. Oh, hi, Bill. We're so much looking forward to you today and can't wait. So take it away.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And thanks to all of you that have organized the 7th Virtual Yoga Festival and Health Expo. The topic that we have in front of us here, that I have in front of me, I should say, is how to eat right and save the planet. And food and nutrition, which Marlene was speaking about earlier, is just a huge topic. And so I want to get right in on the deep end and talk a little bit about a little bit of history, because it's really important for us to understand how we fit into the whole natural landscape, because we always make an assumption, I think, that we know how to relate to our environment, but we don't understand some of the relationships that we have to it, which are going to be essential as we move forward and try to figure out how we solve the problems that we have created, because the problems that are facing humanity right now are self-made. And we don't have a lot of time to take care of those problems, really. So I want to get right into the deep end of it and talk a little bit about history. And this is very ancient history. The slide that's up on your screen right now, or I hope is up on your screen right now, is comprised of two different elements. And one of them shows the 2.5 million year human evolution, gives you an idea of the amount of time that we have evolved on the planet. But the little clock up in the corner is an interesting one. And that is a 24-hour clock of life on planet Earth.
What's your slide on full screen?
What's happened?
Can you put your slides on full screen?
What's happened on planet Earth since the planet was formed? And the interesting thing about that is that you'll note that the human beings don't show up until 1 second before the 24-hour cycle. So we're really the new kids on the block. And it's because of all this evolution is built into us. And because we're very new, there are some problems that have occurred along the way, which might be important for us to look at. We found ourselves on this planet in what you could honestly call paradise. You couldn't imagine a planet that was more suited for human life. The atmosphere, the water, the weather, the food sources, such diversity was built into this. And so we had this wonderful planet to build into. And one of the things that we did was we started traveling from our home in Africa, our original home. We walked and walked and walked and walked all over the world. If you could, it's almost difficult to imagine the extent of that migration. And that migration was made possible because we had an environment which was very helpful to us along the way. And the most helpful part of that environment was the relationship that we had with plants. You see, plants are autotropic. They can take all of the elements of the planet. They can take the light from the sun. They can take the oxygen from the air. They can take the CO2 from the air. They can take soil, the minerals from the soil. They can take water. And out of that, they can produce everything: carbohydrate, protein, vitamins, fats, minerals, oxygen, fiber. All of those things that are essential for animal life are created by plants, because animals can't just sit in the sun, put their feet in the ground, and suck up and nourish themselves. And that allows us to make the epithelial tissue, the connective tissue, the muscle tissue, the nervous tissue, the blood that makes it possible for us to be alive. It's a very simple process, and it doesn't make any difference what animal we're talking about. The process is the same. Now, if we are a carnivorous animal, what happens is we need another animal in there. But what happens if we're not a carnivorous animal, but we put an animal in there anyway? And this is one of the problems that we have facing us right now, and the whole dilemma about what we should eat in order to be healthy. Because the same process of making carbohydrate, protein, etc., all of the macronutrients and the fiber that we need, and then creating animal tissue out of that, what we have done is we've taken that process and we've formalized it so that we increasingly depended on animals for our food. Now, it's very true that we did eat animals in the past, and most of that was a process of finding ourselves in parts of the world environment that were inhospitable for plants. So when we found ourselves in very high altitudes, or we found ourselves in places where the soil was very poor, or whether the weather was very inclement, we depended on animals, either for flesh or for eggs or for their milk products. And that's fine. That was part of an ecological demand. But what we find now is that we don't have that ecological demand. Right now, what has happened is we've formalized the whole process of eating animals, so that what happens is that the animal makes all of the tissue that we are made of, and then we eat the animal, and we have to break down that tissue, the tissue, for instance, of a cow or a goat or whatever. We have to break down that tissue into its original parts and then incorporate them again to make the tissue that we need. So we've inserted this other unnecessary element into the whole process of life. We've absorbed animals. These actions were driven not by necessity. They were driven by mythology, some of which we'll look at, but they are contrary to our biology, and they're very ecologically inefficient. The breakdown of nutrients and reassembling them again is really kind of a silly process when we look at it from that way. And we don't, even if we don't encounter any other product here, any other problem. Now, if we were a creature from another planet, an alien who came down to Earth, and we saw human beings and we captured a human being, the first thing that we would ask ourselves, which is what any anthropologist asks themselves when they encounter a new animal, and we do encounter new animals every once in a while in deep jungle areas, the first thing that we need to know is, what does this animal eat? We can only understand that animal's physiology if we understand what it eats. And when we look at human physiology, we notice some very curious things, particularly given the light of the fact that nutrition has been driven by the fact that we're supposed to be eating animal quality food for, you name it, over 100 years. When we look at the human mouth, we see that the mouth has cheeks, for instance, which usually means, and always does mean actually, that whatever it is that we eat, we hold it in our mouth for a long time, particularly when you look at the enzymes in the mouth, which break down carbohydrate. So that means that what we ate in our evolution was primarily food that we had to chew a lot and keep in our mouth, and it was mostly carbohydrate. When we look at our teeth are grinding teeth. These are teeth that are built for nuts and seeds and beans and grains. They're the grinding molars. That's what the dominant teeth is. We sometimes laughingly refer to these as canine teeth, but these aren't real canine teeth. They don't come out. And if you imagine a mouth of a carnivorous animal, you notice that our mouth is completely wrong. A carnivore's mouth goes all the way back here to the jaw area because you have to bite and hold on to flesh in order to tear it. That's part of the evolutionary process. When we look at the human stomach, we notice that the stomach is not designed for meat or any animal food really, because it doesn't have the level of acidity that's needed. There's about 7 times the amount of acid in a carnivore stomach as in the human stomach. We burn holes in our stomach by eating the food of a carnivore, and then we have ulcers when we complain about it. The same with the intestines. We have extraordinarily long intestines. Carnivores can't have intestines like that. If carnivores have intestines like that, they would die of putrefaction. You can't put meat in a long, large intestine. You have to have short intestines. The food passes through very quickly in a carnivore. And lastly, hands. When we talk about our hands, it's kind of a joke, really, because we will usually end up breaking fingernails trying to open very simple things, let alone hanging on to a moving animal. It's irrational. So how did we come about with this kind of seemingly crazy theory about what we ate in the past? It's a very strange dilemma. We'll talk about it in just a second. But the one thing that we can say is that the food that we eat has enormous impact on us. And we're just starting to understand that. It's bizarre that it's taken this long. But the food we eat, of course, has to do with our health. And we'll talk about some of the health implications in a moment. It has to do with ecology, because we have to take our food from the environment. We harvest all of our energy from the environment. It has to do with social justice. To have a diet like the modern food system absolutely requires us to have what I refer to as food slaves, and which are recognized as food slaves. People who are in poverty, who work usually very, very long hours for next to nothing in order to produce food for the wealthy countries of the world. So I would imagine everybody that might be watching this, we all have food slaves. We have people all over the world who live a very poor existence, a very low quality existence, and have no freedom of movement or freedom of protection for themselves and their families, because we want cheap food. And so that's how it gets produced. And that the modern food system doesn't work unless you have that social injustice. And then there's animals, respect for sentient life. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in detail as we go along. But this is something that most people who study yoga, for instance, know very well is ahimsa. This is not doing any harm. And so when the food that we eat does harm to other beings, sentient beings, and that means that they feel, they play, they have affection for their family, they protect their young. These are all signs of sentience. There are brothers and sisters on planet Earth. So let's talk a little bit about the confusion that exists here. Our biological needs, what do we need? Well, for so many years now, the story has been that we absolutely need animal protein. And that myth has completely been dispelled now. There really is no confusion about this anymore, except confusion that's created by those people, and that includes some government agencies that depend on us eating animal quality food for the economy. So it becomes an economic decision, not a biological decision. It has been proven time and time and time again over the past, particularly the last 50 years, that there is absolutely, positively, no need for any animal product in a healthy diet. You can eat a healthy diet as long as it's a vegetable quality diet and it's diverse enough, right? If you're not just eating one thing, right? Most people make decisions about what they want to eat in terms of the sensations, the sensory sensation. And so, I like the way that it tastes. Well, that's okay, if you like the way that it tastes, but it's killing you. I tell a story to my students sometimes, and people laugh a lot about it, but it's a true story. I had a client many years ago, and he had very, very high blood pressure. He had huge cholesterol problems. He had suffered a heart attack already. And I was giving him some health advice, and I told him that he couldn't eat cheese. And he became very belligerent. He folded his arms and scowled at me. And I said, is anything wrong? And he said, yes. He said, I would rather die than eat cheese. And I thought he was kidding. I made the mistake of laughing, and he wasn't kidding. I was thinking, here is a man who has almost died, and I'm telling him all he has to do is avoid one food, and that'll improve his life. It'll improve the fact that he can have a life. And so he's equating this and saying, oh, life, cheese, life, cheese. Which one do I choose? Which one would you choose? Which one would I choose? I mean, obviously we would choose life, right? We wouldn't choose cheese death. We would choose life. Now, you may think that that's over dramatizing, but it's not. It's been proven that the dairy food is one of the main contributors to heart disease, the main contributors. And the only people that put out information that say that that's not true are the people who benefit financially from that mythology. The investigative journalist, Marion Nestle in America, has pointed out that 90% of all nutritional studies that are done on specific foods are sponsored by food companies, the food companies that make the food. So we have to be very careful here. Tradition. We talk about tradition. Marlene and I have given health counseling in many countries, and I've traveled all over the world and talked to people about their health habits and their diets. And one of the main fallbacks is that, well, I eat this food because it's traditional. Now, I know that it's a good thing to have traditions and to respect your traditions. There's no reason why most traditional diets can't be converted to a vegan diet very easily and have very similar tastes and food textures, etc. But this is a question. Just because something is a tradition, does that mean it's good? Well, it doesn't. I mean, how recently was it that there were traditions that women couldn't work? How recently was it that human beings were enslaved? It was tradition at that time. Many of the health medicines that we take right now were seen to be traditional. Many of the ideas about tradition were there, and they were found to be false. So tradition is really not always a good criteria to use in terms of a healthy diet. Advertising. Much of, as I said before, much nutritional information is nothing more than advertising, polished up to look like it's scientific study. So these are things that cause a great deal of confusion, but we have to start looking at some different qualities right now. And that's making people also confused, because food economy is important. How do we feed the billions, 8 billion, approaching 8 billion people? How do you feed 8 billion people on planet Earth? It's an important issue. And it's one that most people don't like to think about when they're out buying food, but we have to think about it. What happens with sustainability? How can we keep producing crops and producing food products that are not sustainable? So we've created a fatal error, and the biggest portion of that fatal error has had to do with animals. Animals are sentient beings. As I said, you can't own them. Ownership should not be equality. These are creatures that we should be sharing the planet with, and not that we should be breeding in order to grow very fast and artificially pumping them up and then killing them so that we can eat them for our pleasure, and that become a dominant problem in all aspects of life. So we're exchanging nature for profit, the same way that we do with pulling petroleum products out of the earth or cutting down forests. This is a narrative which is based on killing. It's a narrative which is sometimes referred to as autocratic thinking. You know, this is where we start to think that we are in charge of all of nature, and that's a very serious problem. It's a very serious issue to deal with, because we're not. In fact, we're one of the only creatures on the whole planet that could be taken off the planet. Human beings could just disappear overnight, and the planet would start to heal itself. And I don't see that because I'm against humans. I say that because this is the precarious position that we're in, because we have this narrative of domination and a narrative that it's essential for us to kill in order to live. And so we've adopted a philosophy of greed instead of need. What we need is very little. What we want, oftentimes, is really a lot. And we have to make balance with that. It's extraordinarily important. If we don't, what happens is we have bad karma. What is karma? Karma, in this sense, is just cause and effect. When you go against the patterns of nature, what happens is that nature reverses back on you. Your behaviors ripple out into the world, and they cause things to happen. And if those things are mistaken, if they're bad decisions, what happens is you get bad results. The modern diet, which is based around animal food and sugar and additives, primarily those are the big three. So when you talk about eggs and chickens and milk and meat, these are shown as being the causal factors in most of the degenerative diseases. These are the non-communicable diseases like cancer and diabetes and heart disease, many autoimmune diseases, inflammation processes, stroke, etc. You can go on and on and on and on. And the primary factor in those illnesses is what we eat. And so here we are, we're eating ourselves to death because we're making decisions that are not comprehensive decisions. They're not respecting the fact that everything is one. If we eat a diet, for instance, that is good for the environment, it will automatically be good for us. The diet that we eat is the greatest source of pollution of air, water, and soil. The runoff from agriculture, both conventional plant agriculture and the agriculture involved in feeding animals, involves runoff, huge amount of runoff. Nitrogen and other chemicals that are used run into the streams, they run into the rivers, they end up in the oceans, and they create what are accurately called dead zones, where no life exists. Why does it not exist? Because the pollution kills off oxygen creating planktons. I mean, what a mess, right? Undrinkable water. And we talk about air pollution. Well, one of the biggest pollutions of air is that there's a decreasing amount of oxygen in the world. Why? Because we're cutting down forests. Why are we cutting down the forests? In order to grow food for people? No. In order to grow food for animals. Why? So that we can eat the animals, even though we don't need to. The same is true in the ocean. We take the fish, which are the fish that we like the most are the carnivorous fish like salmon and swordfish and tuna and fish like that. And those are at the top of the food chain. And when you do that, when you knock the top of the food chain off, what it does is it ripples down to those creatures that consume plankton. And they start eating plankton. Now, most people think that the forests and grasslands of the world are the source of our oxygen, but they're not. They're only a source of a third of our oxygen. All the rest comes from phytoplankton in the ocean. And so this is incredible. There's been a 40% reduction in phytoplankton over the last 50 years. And that means that the ability of the planet to keep producing oxygen is being killed off. Why? Again, because of our own habits and primarily the food that we eat. The same is with the loss of diversity. You know, because we concentrate so much on a few animals that we breed and overbreed in order to eat, we have created this lack of diversity. There are fewer and fewer wild animals in the world, till there are almost none. We're killing off wild animals, but we're increasing these animals that we brutally breed and breed and breed and overbreed so that we can have them. It's loss of diversity, the same as the loss of diversity in monocropping. Marlene mentioned this earlier. When you have a diet that is based on such a simplistic approach to nutrition, what happens is we start overproducing foods that are non-essential and wasting a lot of the food that we use. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in America, 45% of all the food that is purchased is wasted. So we have to think about this, because this is an important part of developing an approach to nutrition and to eating, which is beneficial to us. Oh, okay, my slides aren't going. There we go. And so what we're surrounded with is fake news. I'm sorry about that with the slides, but the computer kind of stuck there for a minute. We're very susceptible to fear. And one of the fears that we have is the fear of sickness. And rightfully so. We don't want to be sick, and we don't want to die prematurely. But the fear is interesting motivation, because it can be very misused. For instance, what if you're a parent and you read articles consistently that if you don't feed your children a certain food, or if they don't get certain vitamins, they'll be stunted? Now, that doesn't have to be based on science. That can be just an opinion. The science is pretty clear on what you should eat. As I mentioned before, a healthy vegan diet is one of the best diets in the world, the best diet in the world. And that's particularly goes for children, right? But if you keep hearing all the time, no, if you don't give your children milk, they wouldn't grow bones. You know, how did the cow grow bones? How does a gorilla grow bones? You know, I mean, what are we talking about here? That we don't have vitamin C. You know, you won't grow to be healthy. Well, that's true. We do need vitamin C. We need some of it, but we don't have to have orange juice every day in order to have vitamin C. That's not essential, because this is when we get into silver bullets, miracle foods. All of a sudden, if a particular food is sold and marketed because it has almost mythological qualities, and we have to watch that, because it happens all the time, and it happens with healthy foods. You know, otherwise healthy foods are seen to be have some sort of miraculous benefits, when they don't at all. They're just foods, and some of them might be good. And so, particularly in the form of nutrition, we have what I call a white jacket syndrome. If somebody puts on a white doctor's jacket, particularly if they put a stethoscope around their neck, then everybody falls at their feet. But this has been provably poor. In my youth, I remember that doctors smoked cigarettes while they were interviewing you. My family doctor in California, as a child, was always smoking a cigarette. He was smoking a cigarette and putting it out, and smoking a cigarette and lighting up another cigarette. Doctors were recommending that mothers not nurse their children, that they feed their children formulas, which were proven very, very wrong by the 1960s to be completely the wrong way to go. And so we have to be careful here in the decisions that we make. Marlene referred to our websites, two websites, Human Ecology Project and Macro Vegan. And on those, you'll see an outline of what we consider to be a really healthy diet. And you can get free downloads off of our website, which conform and tell you why this kind of template is a very good one. And it's just based around grains, beans, nuts, seeds, fruits, nuts, vegetables. It's just a few simple condiments, right? And it can be the tastiest diet that you'll ever taste. I have to the compliment to Marlene here. I have never yet seen a person who was new to veganism or even eating healthily in any way come to us for dinner and not walk away saying, "Oh my God, I didn't know that that kind of food could taste that good." It's very possible, and so I give a plug to her book here because it's the best vegan book that you can get. It has lots of really good information in it, both nutritional and energetic, and fantastic. So what is the bottom line? All right, what is the payoff here? Well, the payoff is our understanding has to be that what we do moves away from us into the world and affects the world that we live in. The personal is planetary is a slogan that we use. Everything, every product that you buy, every service that you participate in has an effect. And we have to be conscious of those effects. And food is the place that we can make that effect the most. You know, people tell me oftentimes, they say, well, I'm really concerned with what's happening in the environment. And then they tell me that they still eat animal sourced foods. Well, those two things are completely antithetical for me. We have to know that the single most thing that human beings can do right now to assist in cleaning up of the planet and reversing climate change is to stop eating all animal foods, all of them. That we can still do all the other good things. We can still recycle. We can still take care of the plastic in our houses. We can still do all of those things and eat well. But the eating well part is the biggest thing. And it's the one that is most resistant because food is usually an emotional issue. It's not about nutrition. This is about emotion. And so we have to center ourselves and make the good decisions. And really contribute to what's happening in the world, because there's a lot of good things happening in the world amidst all the chaos, and we can be part of those good things that are happening. And we're probably already being a part, but we can be a better part. Have to make good decisions. So that's great. If I don't know how much time we have left because my clock, my little timer stopped here along the way. But if anybody has any questions or anything like that, we can do that. Anybody there? Hello. Hello.
Hi, Bill.
Hi there.
Hi.
Did I catch you unawares?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I was just trying to see again, and if any of our viewers are out there and has a question for Bill Terra right now, you can definitely type it in the chat below, and he is here to answer one or two questions before our next performer. So if you have any questions for Bill, you can definitely type it in now. And I do just want to take this quick moment to say, Bill, thank you so much for sharing all of this insight today. It's definitely makes me feel like I need to take a big breath, which I'm sure we all feel, because it's the reality that we're facing currently at this time.
Yeah, it is a reality. You know, quite a few years ago, American politician Al Gore made a documentary which won an Academy Award called "The Inconvenient Truth," and people forgot about it really quickly. But it is an inconvenient truth. It's one of those truths that we have to look at and we have to say, my gosh, this is a reflection of reality. And it is inconvenient. It might even be uncomfortable sometimes, but we have to do it.
Absolutely. And I do want to let you know that there is a question here that came in.
Yep.
And I wanted to just to address it to you. Bill's going to have time to answer one question here for us, and it's from Banu, and it says, "What's your take on the political influence on the vegan wave? What's your take on political influence on vegan wave?"
Well, the vegan way of life is very threatening to politicians, and for a very good reason, because the food economy is the biggest economy in the world. We always talk about the energy and we talk about, the digital economy and all the rest of it. No, it's food. Food lies at the basis of it. And so decisions that are made about the environment and about health too are oftentimes driven by protecting the economy rather than the final outcome. And this goes to a certain degree into a level of insanity where you have governments that will accept and produce documentation that says that people should eat less. They never say exclude, eat less animal food, eat less dairy food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yet they are subsidizing those industries, because if people were paying the real price for milk, cheese, butter, eggs, all of it, if they're paying the real price, the consumption would go way down indeed, because you couldn't afford it. Right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bill. And again, thank you for your time today. And again, for sharing just incredible insight today, and just, again, opening our eyes to our reality. And I think you said it the best when you said we have to just dedicate ourselves to making better choices. There are a lot of good things that we're doing, and making these better choices, protecting our animals, and doing better is really what we have to do right now as a collective. So Bill, thank you again so much. I know you're just settling in back home for your trip. And I want to say again, anybody who wants to hear more from Bill Terra, you can definitely visit thehumanecologyproject.com. We're going to put it down in the chat below, and also macrovegan.org. Bill Terra, thank you so much for being here again today.
I know.
I'm wishing you lots of love and hope to see you guys again soon.
Great.
Thank you. At this time, I do just want to take a quick moment before we bring in our next speaker to say that we are actually going to be giving away another prize giveaway. We're going to be giving away another Health and Yoga Expo water bottle, as well as a yoga mat right here. And also, we are going to be giving away an online yoga session with our local yoga expert, Wendy Issa, who joined us earlier today. And all you have to do is just go online and tag us at Yoga Health Expo. We're going to put it down, our handle, in the chat below, and tag us, and maybe you can hashtag some of your favorite takeaways from Bill's chat today, as well as Marlene Watson-Terra's, and yes, and we're going to be announcing our winner coming up very shortly. All right, now without further ado, I am really looking forward to this. We have a very special person coming up right now. It's my biggest delight to introduce you to Theda Phoenix. Theda is a Vancouver-based intuitive singer, musician, sound healer, and songwriter whose enchanting voice and sounds transcend into incredibly healing experiences, catalyzing well-being and transformation. Her music has deeply inspired me. I've been listening to her on Spotify, and I've been having her YouTube playlist playing at home for the past few weeks now, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's blissful, and I hope you're ready for this very special treat. Welcome, Theda Phoenix. Hi, Theda.
Hi, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. So I just want to welcome everyone to get comfortable, invite you all to get comfortable to receive this sound transmission. I will be playing crystal singing bowls and just taking us through an experiential, meditative experience with sound. So start by getting into a comfortable position and just closing your eyes for the next 10 to 15 minutes, giving yourself the space of time to relax and deeply receive. So you can start by taking a couple of deep breaths into your belly and just set an intention for what you would like to receive. Oh, my sound is foggy. Hang on. I'm going to just fix this. Thank you for that. How's that? Is that better sound? Great. Thank you so much. All right. So I invite you to just get into a comfortable position and take some deep breaths into your belly, relaxing and tuning into your body, and be open to receive the sound frequencies, to balance and harmonize and tune into that cosmic consciousness that we're all part of, that we're all connected to. So just taking some deep breaths, scanning your body, tuning in to gratitude and that connectedness, that awareness that we are connected to all of life, all beings, that we are eternal and part of the greater whole.
Blessings. May all beings be happy and free. And taking a deep breath, feeling into your heart the gratitude, love, and compassion that lives within there and emanates to all beings. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Theta Phoenix. Absolutely complete bliss. Wasn't that incredible, everyone? I could see in the comments there some beautiful comments of how soothing and relaxing it is. And again, I do want to let everyone know if you would like to see more of Theta Phoenix and hear more from her, you can definitely check her out at thetaphoenix.com, which we'll be putting down below in the profile. You can also check her out on Spotify and find out where you can see her next performance, either online or live again. Theta, Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Just to have you here today is such a treat. Thank you so much. Blessings to you. I also want to say at this time right now, we are going to say a few special thank yous to all of our contributors and also to all of our sponsors who made today special and making this virtual day come to life. And I want to say a very special thank you to Western Community College for hosting us here this year for our 7th Yoga and Health Expo. A very special thank you to SFU, Summit Fraser University, Bay Stranger Technologies, AAA Auto Collision, as well as Barat Jewelers, ZTV Canada, Choices Markets, SW Media Group, Design 360, Danju Dental Care, TWR Home Staging, as well as Imprint. I want to say a special thank you also to Dermamed, Samco Printers, and A Master Media. All right, everyone, it is now time for our next speaker. And I am really, really looking forward to this. I actually had the opportunity to sit down with her and have a live, and we just discussed everything that's been happening over the past year and a half, and just chat a little bit on her views on the world and how she's continuing to encourage her community and her following to live a healthier lifestyle through plant-based eating. And we're very excited to have her here joining us today. I would like to welcome Pearl Cece, plant-based nutritionalist and health and fitness coach. And what's so incredible about her is that she also is doing a Reels challenge right now. So if you want to follow her, her handle is @PearlCC. You can check out all of her very creative ways to encourage you to eat healthy through plant-based eating and encourage all those feel-good vibes. Her passion lies in educating people to take care of their bodies and working with entrepreneurs to increase their energy levels and optimize their health through plant-based eating. I always feel so motivated every time I see her, and I'm so excited for you guys to also share in this as well. Please welcome our next speaker, Pearl Cece. Welcome, Pearl.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Rachel, and everyone at the Yoga and Health Expo today. I'm so happy to be here. I'm super, super excited. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Pearl Cece. Like she said, I'm a plant-based nutritionist, health coach, and fitness coach. And I also have a passion for dance fitness, which is something that I just started recently this year. And it's just been a really great way for me to get moving and help other people move during a time when things are closed and also have that group aspect. Before I dive into things, I want to ask, how long have we been sitting for? I want to do a movement break. I think it's so important to move our bodies and get moving and grooving. So just for a couple minutes, we're going to stand up. Everyone's going to stand up out of their seats, out of their chairs. Everyone see me? I'll go up here. All right. And we're just going to move. So just like shake it out. We're just going to shake. We're going to move. We're just going to groove, hands up in the air and bring them down and up and then down. Nice. Up. And then down, great, up, down, 2 more, up, and then down, and we're gonna shake in a circle. We're gonna shake, 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 good, circle, go around, amazing, amazing. Just a really quick movement break. People always ask me, what's the best way to increase your energy levels? And there's so many different ways, but the most efficient and the quickest thing is to move your body. I hope you all joined me and did that with me. And for those of you that might be asking or questioning, like, why I'm not wearing one of the t-shirts from the Yoga Expo, I'm currently in Nicaragua. I moved for a little bit from Vancouver, so I didn't get a t-shirt. So that's okay, we're here, we're ready to go. And I just want to talk about a couple of things I'll be talking about today. There will be time for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, pop in the chat and or just remember them. And then you can ask me at the end. I really like things to be more interactive. So I'm going to be asking you to drop some things in the chat, share some things with me, because I don't like just speaking at a screen. And I can't see anyone's beautiful faces other than Rachel's, but that's okay. I know you're there and I'm really grateful you're here for my segment. So I'm going to be talking about plant-based eating and ways to make it really approachable and just seamless with your lifestyle. There's a lot of things that come up with people when it comes to plant-based eating, and that's why I help coach people through to making that transition smooth, effortless, seamless, and with least resistance, right? Because when we want to build new habits, the path of least resistance is the way to go. So I just want to share a little bit about my plant-based journey. When I was younger, living with my parents, I didn't really ever like eating meat, actually. I always only ate a little bit, or I'd try it, and I was like not like a huge fan of all the meats we'd have. So once I moved out of home, I realized like, oh, I don't really have a desire or a craving to need to eat meat. So I decided to cut out meat. And because I was studying dietetics, I was studying nutrition, I understood the value of plant-based foods and the nutrients and the all the different benefits they provide us with. And then I was able to just, build my own kind of lifestyle and eating habits around the knowledge I knew. So my transition was pretty easy in terms of just really gravitating towards more plant-based foods. And I realized that it was a big difference in my energy levels, how I showed up, my skin clearing, how I felt every day. It just felt really good to me. I do want to clarify one thing between being vegan and plant-based. Actually, does anyone want to drop in the chat if you know the difference between plant-based and veganism? Anyone want to take a guess? Well, no guests in the chat just yet, but that is okay. I will move on. So the difference, and this is my perception, this is my conception of it from my experience, from working with people, from my knowledge, what I've done research on. Basically, plant-based eating is more of an umbrella term for various different diets that encompass eating more plants and plant-based eating. So if you were to ask a bunch of different nutritionists what plant-based eating is, you might get different responses, and that's totally okay. There's no right or wrong. So basically, certain diets, such as people can argue the Mediterranean diet will be plant-based, the vegan diet will be plant-based, vegetarian diet, pescatarian even. But for me, I really define it as having a diet or your intake that is 80% or more that's made up of whole food plant-based items, right? So 80% or more, and the 20% really is up to you in fluctuation because everyone's different. And I really allow people to have that flexibility and to explore the things that actually feels better for them. So if they still include certain animal products or certain, high quality proteins in their diet that makes them feel good and that's okay with them, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean you have to be 100% vegan. If you do choose to be, that's totally fine. But if you don't, that's totally fine too, right? My main approach is just to get more plants into your body and whatever that looks like for you in the way that you enjoy and in the way that still allows you to live your life, have experiences, go out to eat with the family. Because there's a big aspect of food that's not just the nutrients, the biological level. It's also community building. It's, relationships, it's culture, and having people work with that within their lifestyle looks different for everyone. I just want to share that difference. And then with veganism, of course, veganism is people that are 100% vegan, no animal products at all. There's a little spectrum there. Some people, choose to still eat eggs or honey or not at all. So there's a little spectrum there too. And also I find that a lot of vegans are also very into they don't buy leather and it's a lifestyle where nothing that they consume or use for the most part they try their best to not have any animal products in their environment. And that's a great approach too. I think people can take what they like and leave what they don't from any of these approaches. So I want to share that difference. So when I talk about plant-based eating, keep that in mind. There's a few main things I'm going to share and a few principles that I like to, propose to people just to make it a little more approachable. So the first one would be the balanced plate model. Now, have any of you heard of the balanced plate model? If you have, drop a yes in the chat. Let me know if you heard of the balanced plate model. Quiet crowd today, quiet crowd. I'm very used to having people chatting in the chat and dropping a lot of things, but if you don't want to, that's okay. Yes, you have, Jason. Thank you for dropping in the chat. I'm like, is anyone actually there? Because everyone's cameras are off. Maybe people are just like away from the camera. No, I'm kidding. So yes, Jason has heard the balanced plate model. And basically what that looks like is Imagine a round plate, and half of that plate would be composed of your vegetables and your fruits. So you're mostly plant-based, like leafy vegetables, fruits. The 1/4 of your plate, so the other quarter, if you're visualizing that, it would be your starches or grains. So your rice, your potatoes, your quinoa, whatever starch you prefer, or grain. And then the other quarter would be your protein. So your protein of choice, whether it's plant-based proteins or animal-based proteins. So that's kind of the idea of the balanced plate model. And this really emphasizes the idea that you want to have half your plate consisting of more plants, right? Vegetables and fruits. This is the first step that I usually encourage my clients to do, is to just try and eat more plants, eat more vegetables. And this is at every meal of the day. Now, of course, not every meal is going to look like exactly like the plate model where you have your divisions and the halves, and people don't eat like that. We're not robots, but it's a very good visualization of what it could look like if you were to incorporate more plants into your meals, into your plates. So whenever you're making food or thinking of things, like always ask yourself, how can I add more plants to this, or how can I make this more nutritious, right? And then thinking of that. And the idea of having this balanced plate model, this ties into a couple of things that come up with certain people that transition to plant-based eating, and they find that, oh, actually they're not eating that many vegetables. Sometimes things are quite starch heavy. Like I know a lot of people I worked with before, they went plant-based, but they were still eating like mac and cheese. Even though it was plant-based, it was vegan, they were eating like heavier things, lots of carbs, and they weren't having that portion of their foods that came from those plants. So I think it's important to keep that in mind, because this also ties into your satiation levels, how satisfied you are after a meal. If you're only eating mac and cheese, you're not going to be that full. You might not be having enough protein. That's a big one for many people, which I'll touch on. And you might not be having enough fiber, which also helps keep you satiated. And maybe you're not having healthy fats in there as well. That all comes into the combination of having that full feeling that's going to last you for more than a couple hours, right? That's one thing that comes up. People that they're hungry very shortly after their plant-based meals, and mostly because it's not balanced. So thinking of having all those components, the proteins, the healthy fats, the carbohydrates and or starches, and then your fruits and vegetables or your fibers, right? So that's a really good point. So keep that in mind too. And then when you think of blood sugar regulation, a really big idea behind health and our hormone releases and how things are just regulated in our body, insulin influences a lot of these things. And insulin is released when we eat things with sugar in them. And sugar is not bad. Sugar is just a natural energy source for our bodies, and it's found in almost every food. So carbohydrates, when we eat them, they get broken down into sugar, and this tends to cause our insulin to spike up. And that's a natural process. There's nothing wrong with that. Oftentimes, though, in society, people often eat unbalanced meals that are very high in carbohydrates and are not balanced. So having the up and down glucose spikes, the glucose roller coaster, I like to call it the blood sugar roller coaster, in the long term for our chronic health is actually not ideal, right? The more we can keep our glucose stable, our blood sugar stable, the better we have for our long-term health outcomes. So what this looks like, and it comes back to balanced eating, is that you want to ideally have most, if not all, of your meals and or snacks. I say most because no one's perfect, and you might have an unbalanced meal or snack here or there. That's okay, we are human, but most of the time you want to think of having that balance, because the combination of having your carbohydrate, your proteins, your fibers, and your fats, that actually helps you balance your blood sugars. So I always like to say that carbohydrates, fats, proteins, they're all best friends. They want to get separated. They want to hang out together. They want to be on the same plate together. So you want to think about that, because when you have that balance, it actually allows our blood glucose to stay more stable instead of spiking up and down. Does that make sense? Let me know if that made sense in the chat. That's basically how I break it down to people to make them understand that, hey, I want you to think about this, and this is how we're going to regulate our blood sugars as often as possible, because insulin has a big role in our other hormones that release our hunger cues, us hanging on to fat, right? Not being able to release certain fat in certain areas, and a lot of other balances, a lot of other functions that our body does. All right, thank you for the comment, Esther. So that's the first one, is the balanced eating. All right, hope that was clear. The next thing I want to propose, an idea that I really strongly believe works for many people, is the 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule, have any of you heard the 80-20 rule? Drop a yes in the chat if you have, or drop a no if you haven't. Yes, Lorianne, nice. I love that. Great, Rachel. Yep, love it. Great. So the 80-20 rule, actually originally it was based from the idea of time management, right? Like 80% of things that you're doing, I'm probably gonna get this wrong because I haven't reflected on the time management definition because I use it mostly in my practice, but it's from a productivity standpoint. But it's been kind of molded and taken to the health and wellness idea because my take on it is that if you have about 80% of your foods that are, well balanced and eating healthy and clean and all the things that we've talked about, right? Having your proteins and carbohydrates and mostly whole foods, that is a really great proportion of your eating. 70-30 is okay too. We'll talk about that. And then the 20% is that wiggle room. It's that allowance that you are allowed to eat certain things that people would call bad or good. I don't really like to categorize foods as good or bad. I like to say, hey, sometimes this is more nutritious, sometimes this is less nutritious, right? Of course, 80% of the time, we want to eat things that are more nutritious. Of course, our whole foods, all those good stuff. But 20% of the time, if we eat things that are a little bit less nutritious, that's okay because that allows you that room to enjoy foods, to go out for dinner, to have that birthday, to eat that cake. And this 80-20 rule really helps people alleviate the idea of food guilt. Do any of you struggle with food guilt? If you do, let me know in the chat because this is something that you can maybe have a mindset shift around. Because when you give yourself the permission and when you allow yourself to say, hey, I've been eating pretty good, maybe 70% or 80% of the time, I'm eating my greens, I'm eating my plants, like I'm feeling really good. And then 20% of the time, it's like I'm allowed to, like, give yourself that permission to enjoy that piece of pie or the cake and eat that with enjoyment and joy because you know you actually like this food without being like, oh, I shouldn't have had that. Oh my gosh, I was supposed to stay eating clean 100% of the time. But 100% or always eating clean is not realistic for anyone to do, right? Because again, we are communal beings. We are heavily influenced by our environment, by people around us, and that's totally fine. A lot of people come up to me, they're like, oh, I went out and I end up eating some things and oh man, it's like I didn't want to do that, but my friends offered it me and I couldn't say no. And it's all, but I do the same. I can relate because we are human beings and we actually have a inclination to want to be part of the tribe and to fit in. And that's an instinct. And it's very hard to override our instincts. So knowing that when you're in an environment with your friends and you're having a good time, you want to just have fun, and you might be more leaning towards, hey, I might have this sweet, my friend offered me a cookie, and that's totally okay. Like I went to a cafe a couple days ago and they had the best chocolate chip cookies, oh my gosh. And I had one because I was like, I want to try this cookie, and I enjoyed it because I know most of the time I'm eating really well. And this ties into the idea that you feel guilty often. People feel guilty when they're not eating balanced, when they're not eating well most of the time, right? Maybe it's a 50-50, or maybe it's like a 30-70, right? Depending on what your lifestyle currently is. And nothing wrong with that. It's really important to assess where you are without judgment and know what steps you need to take to improve that, right? So knowing that, it's like, okay, cool. I know that, but I want to make this a little better, but I'm still allowed to have that wiggle room. And the 80-20 rule is a really good practice. So if it's 70-30, that's okay too. If it's 90-10, I'm more of a 90-10 type of gal. I like to eat clean 90% of the time, and 10% of the time, I like to little dabble here and there. But having 100% expectations that you're always going to eat clean or be healthy or always eat plant-based is not realistic. And then you set yourself up for that failure, that disappointment, that negative self-talk, right? That brings you into that negative spiral of those thoughts. And that discourages you from keeping on a certain habit. In this case, would be healthy eating, right? So hope that made sense with the 80-20 rule. And this is one that takes time to cultivate, takes time to remind yourself like, oh, it's okay. Like I have that, but it's really powerful. And a lot of my clients do really well and alleviate their food guilt because they know like they're humans, they're allowed to enjoy this, right? Exactly. Weekends are at home. Thank you for sharing that. It's true. So maybe you're 5 days during the week, you're doing well, you're at home, you're killing it. And then on the weekends, you might allow yourself to have that wiggle room. And that's what I do actually. During the week, I am on it. I'm prepped, I'm clean, I'm doing good, right? And then on the weekends, I allow myself to, but sometimes I don't. I also really encourage people to ask how they feel. Sometimes I'll go out with my friends and I actually don't want to have anything extra. I just like tune into myself. One thing I teach is intuitive eating. I'm not going to go into that on this call, but it's allows you to be like, hey, how am I feeling right now? Do I actually want to do this? Do I actually want to ingest this? How's my body feel right now? And then you ask yourself these questions and you tune in. It takes time to cultivate. It is a skill, right? And as you do that, you're like, okay, cool, I can do that. All right. So that's the second point. Amazing. And I'm just going to touch really briefly on a couple of things, and then we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A. I ended up rambling more than I thought. Sorry, guys. But the last couple of things that come up when it comes to plant-based eating is the idea that, oh, it's really expensive and oh, it takes a lot of time to prep. Have any of you had these thoughts in your head like, oh man, I want to eat more plants, I want to be vegan, or I want to be more vegetarian, but it's a little pricey. Oh my gosh. Or hey, the prep time, I don't want to be in the kitchen cooking all the time. I'll get to your diabetes diet at the end. Thank you for the question. Can anyone relate? It happens a lot. That's one of the most common objections that comes up to me when I start working with people around plant-based eating. Sorry, it's really hot here and I'm like sweating profusely. All right, so when it comes to that, there's a couple areas and ways to look at this. So when it comes to the cost idea, in my opinion, we're always spending money on something, right? Whether it's food or drinks or clothes, or we're always spending money on something. And I like to ask people to look at the whole picture they're spending. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, but it's good to bring awareness to, hey, what other areas of your life are you spending money on that may not be serving you? And maybe that can just be allocated towards eating healthier because you know that's going to serve you in the long run, right? And then they can come to their own conclusions about that. They don't have to tell me where they're cutting their money, they're spending, but I like to ask them the question for them to reflect. And another thing is that, hey, there's a lot of options that actually are really cost effective, like canned foods, canned beans, right? Canned vegetables and or fruits, frozen veggies, frozen fruits, right? These things in bulk as well, right? Like there's so many other ways we can eat on a more efficient level. Like I often shop in bulk and I buy these things that are cheaper. I buy no name brand. There's little hacks, tips and tricks that you can make it. If you're really concerned about the price, then you can make it. There's coupons, there's certain days that have sales, there's certain like local farmers markets in the summer, right? Support the local economy. There's so many different ways to do it. And when you look at the overall benefits you're getting, like I believe you're investing into your health. The cost of buying healthy food is an investment into your health, yourself, feeling better, right? Showing up better, knowing you're doing your future body a really good service. So for me, that investment is worth it. And I'm a type of person, I will spend so much money on my health because it's worth it for me, right? So that's a nice perspective shift, but there's also ways to save money for sure. And the second one that comes up is that people are like, oh, it's so time consuming. Oh my gosh, I want to just sit there, chop up veggies. And that is something, we're cooking, whether we're eating plant-based or not, we're always making food. Well, for the most part, unless you order takeout a lot or unless you have a cook. If you do, that's pretty awesome. But we're always making food, preparing food. So there's ways to make that more efficient. And then also it's about being more prepared. Preparation is key. When you come home from work, when you end your workday for working at home and you haven't planned what to eat, you're looking at your fridge like, oh, what am I gonna make? Trying to put together meal ideas. And you're like, well, I'm just gonna either order takeout, eat this frozen meal, whatever it may be. But having preparation, if you know like, okay, I'm gonna eat this and this, I have rice prepped, right? I have this cut up already and I have this prepped. Man, when I have this organized for myself, I can whip together a meal in like 10 minutes. And my secret to that is I pre-cook or pre-batch my grains and my proteins. So that looks like me cooking a bunch of rice or quinoa on the weekend. Or that looks like me batching my beans or my lentils or soaking my tofu or marinating it, right? And then throughout the week, I quickly throw things together, and veggies take no time to cook really. So I chop my veggies either before or fresh right there, really up to you. And then I throw everything together. I like one pot meals, super simple one pot meals, one pan meals, and I can whip up a meal in like 10 minutes. My roommate's like, how did you make that in 10 minutes? But so I had prep already. So if you're willing to put in like the hour or two on a certain day to have efficiency throughout the week, so again, time, your meal, and make it efficient and fun too. You can always combine the meal process with something
Hi, Pearl. It looks as though we're kind of losing you just a little bit. I know that Pearl is joining in all the way in Nicaragua today, so she's freezing just a little bit on there. So we'll maybe just give her a quick moment just to maybe she can sign out and come back on to finish her chat. And also in the meantime, while we're waiting for Pearl, in the meantime, I do want to say that we have found our second winner for our Yoga and Health Expo. I want to say a very special congratulations to Carly Sprague, all the way in Seattle, Washington. Congratulations. We will be DMing you to get all of your address info and get your prizes to you. All right, there she is. Pearl's back. And we're going to put her back up so she can continue.
Sorry, guys. Sometimes the Wi-Fi here like just randomly cuts out. And it's a thing, but I'm back. I'm just gonna wrap up. I was just saying that we can really make that meal prepping experience more abundant and more fun. Now that's the recap. Just to do a quick refresher, I talked about the balanced plate model. I talked about the 80-20 rule and food guilt. I talked about ideas around making it more cost effective and making it more efficient for you to make and prep food for the week. Now we're almost done, but we'll answer a couple questions and then we can call it a day. So Banu asked, sorry if I said your name wrong, how can plant-based diet help vegetarians? Okay, so basically plant-based diet and vegetarian eating is the same thing, right? So plant-based diet or plant-based eating is an umbrella term for various different diets or eating styles, and vegetarian goes under there. So basically how it can help, well, it depends on what your goals are and what you're looking for. But hey, it can really help you in a lot of ways in terms of nutrition, getting enough nutrients, your energy levels, like your skin, fiber, decreasing cholesterol levels, right? Balancing out any misalignments, not misalignments, but the word I'm looking for is not coming up. But making sure you're just getting adequate amount of things, it can be cost effective for you. Really depends on your goals, can help you manage your weight better, right? I could go on and on, but there's a lot of things that can benefit you. And I think there was a question in the chat about diabetes, and I cannot dive into this exactly without knowing what's going on with your blood sugars. I used to work in diabetes. I used to love working in diabetes. I used to be a dietitian. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. And I worked at the hospital. I work with diabetes patients. They're my favorite patients. But when it comes to diabetes diet, the one thing I want you to remember, I don't want to call it diet because it's really not. It's more like a lifestyle, balancing your blood sugars. And really, ultimately, we should all be aiming to balance our blood sugars, right? And to do that, is again thinking back your balanced plate model. When I work with people in diabetes, we always just want to balance out their meals. So my suggestion for you is to think about making every meal balanced. So always having your carbs with your proteins, with your fiber, with your fats, even your snacks, okay? Always, always, always. For diabetics specifically, you don't want to eat any carbohydrates by itself. All right, so that's the one thing I wanted to really focus on. And just doing that can be so powerful. And then also just watching your carbohydrate portions, depending on how much you're eating. Again, can't give you specifics. Second really powerful thing when it comes to managing blood sugars is going for a walk or doing some movement after you eat, right? Whether it's 15, half an hour, an hour after you eat, you want to get some movement in there. And that's really, really effective for managing your blood sugar levels. So I hope that helped. All right, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the questions. I hope that was helpful. If you have anything you want to ask, follow up, please DM me on Instagram. I'm always open to chat and to give more insights and knowledge from what I know from my experience. Thanks again for having me. I am so looking forward to the panel, and I'll talk to you guys really soon.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Pearl. She always makes it so much fun. So, Pearl, thank you so much for that. And again, thank you so much for always keeping us inspired and motivated to treat ourselves right, feed ourselves right, and get into our bodies. So, thank you so much. And again, as Pearl mentioned, you can follow her at Pearl Cece, which we're going to type in the chat below. And she also has a link tree that will link you to all of the different resources that she has. And you can definitely check out her Reels challenge as well. I think she's still on her 30-day one. Are you still on the 30-day? You are? Yeah, I've been following along. It's been pretty awesome. So definitely check her out for some inspiration. Before we move into our next very exciting part of our program today with our panelist discussion, we'll be welcoming back Pearl in just a few moments. I want to take just a quick moment to say a very special thank you to all of our contributors as well as all of our sponsors today. A big mention to the Western Community College for having us here and hosting our 7th Yoga and Health Expo today. A special thank you to SFU, Simon Fraser University, Base Stranger Technologies, AAA Auto Collision in Burnaby, Barat Jewelers, ZTV Canada, Choices Markets, SW Media Group, Design 360, Danju Dental Care, TWR Home Staging, Imprint, as well as Dermamed, Samco Printers, and A Master Media. All right, thank you guys again, and I want to say a very special thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And again, a big special thank you to all of our speakers and our panelists. And speaking of panelists, it is now time for us to jump in to have a beautiful conversation with everyone, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to everyone. I first want to say our one and only Jason Fonger is joining us today as our panelist moderator. He's the host of the Vegan Champion podcast. He's an elite level triathlete. He's competed in over 18 triathlons and has 4 big wins under his belt, which is pretty awesome. He has been vegan since 2009. Incredible. And he uses his platform as a voice for animals and to encourage the vegan message with his champion community. I want to welcome Jason Fonger, and thank you for being our 7th Yoga and Health Expo moderator this year. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Rachel. Stoked to be here. This is such a great crew. We've got together. We're going to have an awesome chat. I think we've got about 40 minutes or so to sort of go around and get some questions as well at the end. So if you have any questions, type them in either the Q&A or in the chat, whatever you prefer. And yeah,
absolutely,
this is going to be great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for being here. Your sound is a little bit funny there. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing the same thing on their end, but maybe he can fix it there for a second. Hello?
I'm going to have to hop out and come back in. So
okay, he's going to hop out and come back in. And in the meantime, I am also just going to welcome our panelists who are joining us here today. And I want to say a very special thank you to you all. And first of all, I want to say welcome to Muzamil Ahmed, who's joining us. He's a plant-based nutrition and medical student with a master's in psychology and certification in nutrition. He believes a healthy lifestyle starts with a healthy diet and whole plant food. Welcome, Muzamil. I also really love the content he posts up there on Instagram, and I'll be posting that in the chat as well so you can follow him. Secondly, I want to introduce Dr. Matthew Negra. He's a plant-based naturopath doctor based here in Vancouver. He's devoted to bringing the most up-to-date evidence-based nutrition to his patients and his community, and is always insightful and providing outstanding content as well to his followers. I'm a huge fan of him as well. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us here today, and happy Father's Day, guys. Also, I want to welcome back our guest speaker now as a panelist over there in Nicaragua. Hopefully she's enjoying a beautiful day over there today. I want to welcome back Pearl Cece. She is a nutritionalist, health and fitness coach, and she uses her platform to inspire her community to optimize their health using plant-based diets and encourage a feel-good attitude. Welcome back, Pearl Cece. And lastly, I want to thank very much Florian West for being here today, way past his bedtime over there in Europe. Thank you so much for joining in from Poland today. Florian is he is also here today joined. He is a plant-based fitness trainer, and he's been vegan for 6 years, and he encourages vegans to get into the best shape of their lives and feel their best doing it. And also, he has 25,000 vegans joined in across all of his platforms. He has an incredible YouTube. Check it out. I've watched many videos over the past few weeks, and I can't wait to keep watching. Florian, thank you for being here today. And I'm going to now pass it over to Jason Fonger to take it away.
How's my sound? Is it better now? Am I okay?
It's still a little bit.
It might be because of your headphones, because of the Bluetooth. If you take those off,
let me try it.
Definitely.
Sounds like Darth Vader.
Yes, a little Darth Vader-ish, but you know what? This is our how we're navigating these days on Zoom, which is great. So, how about now, Jason?
Let's try this. How's this?
Hey, Here we go, guys. We're in business. Thank you so much, Jason, again. And we're looking forward to this discussion, guys. Take it away, Jason.
Great. I'll just make sure I'm on top of muting myself so we don't get any funky echo or anything like that, but should be good. So, this is going to be so much fun. I want to start off. Let's just go around real rapid fire, real quick. Okay. So everybody, I want to hear 30 seconds or less. what was your first meal of the day? And I won't say, did you eat breakfast? Because I know lots of people are skipping breakfast these days, so we won't get into that. But first thing you ate today, give it to me in 30 seconds. I'll go first. So I actually got up today. I was up at 6 and I had to be out on the golf course. We had a tee off time at 5 for Father's Day, me and my brother and my dad and my brother's fiance's dad. We all went out. And I just said, you know what? I got to grab something quick. I got to be able to have it on the golf course. I grabbed 3 Cliff Bars. Full transparency, grabbed 3 Cliff Bars. There was 1 chocolate chip. There was 1 macadamia nut. And there was 1, what was the last one there? The chocolate brownie or something like that. So they're all vegan, convenient. You know, is it the best, most whole food ever? No, but did it work for me today? Yes, it did. It's the first thing I had. So I'll pass it on. I don't know if everybody's got a different order. So why don't let's just pass it around. So everybody pass it to someone else. I'll pass it to Muzamil. Muzamil, what was your first meal of the day?
Yeah, so today, just like you, I was in a hurry as well. I had to meet up with someone to study. So what I did was I just took 2 pieces, actually, that's a lie, 4 pieces of whole grain bread with peanut butter on top, all natural peanut butter, organic peanut butter, and sliced up some banana, put that on top, and sprinkled some hemp hearts, some seeds on there, sunflower seeds, with a side of a few different types of fruits, and that was my breakfast.
Awesome. Let's pass it over to, how about you, Pearl? What did you have today?
This morning, I got up a little later than usual. I went out last night, so I had my staple is I eat eggs. So I had eggs, scrambled eggs, but mostly vegetables. So I had a little salad, I had lettuce, avocado, I had a couple, like 4 pieces of potato wedges, and then I had eggs, beets, carrots, tomatoes, jalapenos, onions, spinach, a couple other things in there, and that was my breakfast.
Awesome. What about you, Florian?
My breakfast is very similar to my nutrition in general. And that can really be summed up with kind of 3 things. Number 1, simple, boring, and almost Spartan-like. So breakfast was literally just, oats mixed with water. I had a bottle of water as well, my first one of the day, and my coffee. I really like coffee. So that was my first meal of the day.
Very cool. Spartan-like. I like it. And Dr. Matthew Nagra, how about you, man?
I had oatmeal as well. So just oats with water, steel cut oats. I threw some frozen blueberries, banana, flax seeds, cinnamon, and then I also had green tea with it. That's what I do most days, I'd say.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So yeah, because it's always nice, people who may be watching this, they may not be super familiar with, plant-based ways of eating. And it's kind of like, well, what am I going to eat? So I think it's always nice to hear, what people are eating, and just to get some ideas. So hopefully people got some ideas from that. Okay. Next thing, and now feel free to take a little bit longer, although we'll keep things moving, take a couple minutes if you like, but I really want to hear from everybody, how did you first get into plant-based eating? But then I want you to unpack something for me. I want you to unpack, what did you struggle with most? Okay, so how'd you get into it? What did you struggle with most? And then that 3-part question, hopefully I'll keep track, is how did you overcome that, right? How did you overcome that challenge? So whatever it was for you. So for me, I got into it. I read the album liner notes that, really just told me about what was happening to animal exploitation. I didn't want to be a part of that. I was also having some health issues that led me to this way of eating, but I struggled with, when I first got into it, it was like, you got to be raw. You can't eat, you can't eat cooked food. You can't eat too many, fruits or anything like that, very restrictive. And I struggled to eat enough. I lost a lot of weight and I started to get really low energy. But then, I started looking at what athletes eat. And when I looked at that, and it's like, okay, if you want to be, a runner and an endurance athlete, you're looking at like at least 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight per day. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's a lot of food. And if it's plants, you gotta eat more volume to get those energy needs met. So for me, it was like realizing, okay, I gotta make sure I'm getting my energy needs met. And once I overcame that and I started being sort of objective about my intake and, in terms of how many calories I'm eating per day, when I figured that out, that was really a key thing for me. So there's how I got into it in a nutshell, what I struggled with most in the beginning, and how I sort of overcame those. So love to hear from all of you. So let's go again. I've got you next to me, Dr. Nagra. So everybody's moving around, but I'll head back to you. Give us your insights here.
Yeah, I'll try to give the short version because it can be kind of long. But when I was younger, I had a host of health issues, asthma, allergies. I was overweight. And I actually had a personal trainer around when I was 15, training for football at the time. And he actually promoted a more plant-centric diet. He was very much in the camp of, we should be reducing or eliminating dairy intake, reducing meat intake. He did still eat, fish and that, which is definitely within the realm of a healthy diet. And it wasn't until he wanted me to record everything I ate. So he wanted me to do a food diary. And I was just so scared that he was going to see how bad my diet was, because it was just not good. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to clean up my diet for these couple of weeks. I'm going to, eat the way that he suggests, and he's going to be so impressed with me. And I just felt better. I started losing weight. My energy got better. And just in a really short period of time, my asthma seemed like it was doing better. So I just stuck with it. And over the course of a couple of years, I just learned more and more about it until eventually, I went all in a couple of years later, went 100% plant-based and have been now for over 10 years. The thing that I'd say I struggled with is funny enough, I never struggled with the actual like eating the diet part. I actually did pretty well with that. I found it pretty easy. It was more back then, especially, it wasn't as popular as it is now. I had no friends or family who were eating this way. It was when I was at university, I found some people or met some people in my area through like online forums and things like that. And ended up meeting them and kind of becoming a part of that community. But I'd say that was the challenging part back then, but now it's a totally different story.
Thanks. And how about you, Pearl? Tell us about, I know you sort of, you were speaking a little bit before, but can you elaborate on some?
Yeah, for sure. So I talked about a little bit before at the beginning, but basically never really been a big fan of meat. I always ate only a little bit at home. My dad was like, what the heck? So when I moved out, I didn't buy any meat products, mainly because I don't like touching it. It really grosses me out. So that was easy for me. And then I was about 90% plant-based, I'd say. I'd eat eggs here and there. Really, that's about it. No dairy, no cheese, I don't like that stuff anyway. And then transition, I felt really good. I was learning about all the benefits, like at the cellular level, all the nitty gritty throughout my nutrition and my education. So that was really cool to know. I was like, oh yeah, I'm eating this, give me this. So it was a big motivator for me. The challenge for me back then when I was at home would be the resistance around family and friends. That was the biggest thing. And everyone's like, oh, like why are you not eating this? Like in my culture, I was born in Ghana. My mom's very much food is her love language. And when I eat some of her food, it like tells her I love her, blah, blah. So I wouldn't eat it. She would get so offended. Oh my gosh. And it would cause friction. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'll have like a little bit, I'll try some here and there. So that was like my little flex, because it would hurt me to make my mom sad. And a long story short, I built up more and more tolerance to saying, no, this is what I want to eat when I felt like it, of course. And then, yeah, I think I covered all 3 questions. Yeah.
I think you got it. Yeah. And I think it's such an important one, because I think, so many people struggle with those expectations of, you need to eat this is like, the family recipe or whatever. And there's a lot of friction that happens there. So yeah, I think that's an important one. Muzamil.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us have very similar stories. So similar to Matt, I also had some of my own health issues that I've experienced for a very long time. The biggest one being my migraines. I had migraines all my life. I've seen variety of neurologists and being told over and over and over, it's genetics. I just have to take medications. There's no other solution. And I did do that for a while. And I also had cystic acne and eczema and constant fatigue syndrome. I loved working out, but I would always be tired from it and sore and things like that. And I thought I was eating pretty healthy. I was not eating any processed foods, but my diet was very, very, very protein heavy. And when I say protein heavy, I'm talking about like animal protein. So a lot of whey, a lot of chicken breasts and things like that. And I didn't really think of that being wrong at the time, or never thought, it was my diet, because I kept thinking my diet is actually really clean. So I kind of just like stopped trying to figure out how to change my diet and how to change it, and just accept it that maybe I just need to take medication. I just need to deal with my migraine and my skin issues and things like that. And then when I started medical school, I was really hoping to learn more about like the prevention side of things and some of these diseases that I've been curious about, like how do you prevent them, or is there a way to reverse them and things like that? Because There's a lot of cancer in my family. I have a lot of family members due to cancer. So that was one huge thing for me, that I was like, it just doesn't make sense that cancer rates are rising so much. I've lost my uncle, I've lost my cousin that's my age, another cousin of mine, her son at the age of 2 got brain cancer, and cancer is just really big in the family. And I was just like, this is really crazy. So during our lectures, I was really hoping that things like that would be mentioned, and they never got mentioned. Prevention's barely talked about, diet is barely talked about, and eventually got to a point that I was fed up during my first year, and I was like, it's time for me to kind of learn on my own other things that I can, so I can add to this, because they're great at teaching you pathophysiology and pharmacology and things like that, but prevention and nutrition and things like that are very, very minimal. So I decided to take a deep dive into the nutritional literature and lifestyle aspect of medicine, and look into what the science has to show. And I was just fascinated about how much literature there is pointing towards eating more and more plant-based. And the more I looked into it, the more I got convinced, and I decided I'm going to do this first myself. I actually didn't even tell people that I was going to do this. I kind of did it, and I wasn't even thinking about going vegan or 100%, but I just started feeling better and better and better, to a point that I was like, holy shit, I haven't had a migraine in a while. Like, this is not normal for me. I'm used to getting migraines. And eventually I decided I was going to go 100%, and I haven't had a migraine since I've gone plant-based, and I used to have migraines all the time. So that's a huge thing. My skin has cleared up. My energy level has been really high. And in regards to my struggle, no different than what Matt said. It was like the aspect of friends and family, especially the tough questions that often come up. Like, when it came to the science, I had done my research, so I was able to answer those. That was never an issue, but it always came down to like the culture or the religion, and those things can create a lot of arguments. So initially I was just not answering them. I was like kind of just taking a mental note of all the questions. And then I just decided to read up a lot on that. And then I just looked into it, and I realized that, a lot of the questions they had, there are answers that I was able to find. And then I was eventually able to have those conversations with those people and convince them that it doesn't matter what religion you are, you can still be plant-based, right? So things like that. And now a lot of my family members, none of them are vegan, but a lot of them, most of them are like predominantly plant-based, because I was able to satisfy their needs for those type of questions. So that was a struggle I had. And I also came across this ebook that I recommend people check out in regards to dealing with your friends and family. It's by Earthling Ed. It's an ebook. I think it's like Dealing with Your Friends and Family. I think that's what it's called. If you go to his website, you'll find it. It's a great resource for type of questions families usually have in regards to like and how to deal with friends and family. So I would say if anyone's struggling with that, like, go download that ebook. It covers a lot of those questions.
That's great. I didn't know that Ed had done an ebook on that, but it's a great idea. What a perfect idea. Obviously, it's something, Matthew, Pearl, Muzamil, you're like, there's common themes here. And by the way, like I chose to talk about the, sort of energy needs thing, but like I experienced that as well, for sure. I think almost everyone does, it's unless you're, I can't imagine when you would not. So I don't know. Florian, the floor is yours to, give us a bit of, an idea of how you got started and, maybe something you struggled with.
I think I had my fair share of struggle along this way. I'm a fellow vegan as well, since 6 years. And before going vegan, I was a super heavy meat eater, similar to what Musamil touched base on there before. So I was literally eating 1 kilo, so 2 pounds of chicken a day, a few eggs in the morning, a lot of milk during the day, just a very kind of fitness centered and a clean diet. So the way I first came into touch with veganism was kind of by accident. I was not asking for it. My girlfriend at that time gifted me a book called Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. And that is just a very powerful book in showing you how your food choices really affect sentient beings, the environment, and how messed up essentially the system is. And then I would love to say that I could, within one day, I just became vegan overnight. So the first thing I kind of struggled with was just making that decision and deciding, look, this is messed up. I really want to make my part into betterment and into improvement with as much things as I can do personally. So the first thing was really making that decision. That's what I struggled with. I dragged this on for weeks, and then eventually made the decision because there was just enough reasons to do so. Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, that touches base upon the person that has a good enough why can be almost anyhow. So you must have enough reasons to make that decision. And for me, that was going for that vegan for the animals. Second thing that I struggled with once I went vegan was just the uncertainty. I felt like a pioneer. No one around me was vegan, so I really need to figure everything out. And the best way I personally dealt with that uncertainty was just acquiring enough knowledge, really understanding how this works, so I know that I'm on safe grounds. The third thing, last thing that I struggled with is probably, again, the social setting, friends and family. And that was, I think, one of the persistent struggles and the hardest struggles to deal with, because I realized as a vegan, you kind of give people a lot of fodder for attacks. So people are looking at you like, okay, your life is not great because you're vegan, or that is happening because of veganism, or, you know, you have this because of veganism. So that's a common theme. The way I kind of improved that one was just, I realized, look, I want to give you less reasons to attack me. So I started improving myself, and I realized that the best way to really go out of that struggle is to become a positive vegan role model and be the best version of yourself that you can be. So that is my story.
Absolutely. I can totally relate to that. I mean, that's a huge part of why I have that motivation to go out and race, right? To go out and try to be that good example. And, you know, a couple of times been able to stand on the podium with the vegan shirt or whatever. And everybody's kind of like, oh, where does he get his protein, or whatever they're thinking? I don't know. But you know, so many common themes here, and it's great to have all of your perspectives on, you know, how you sort of overcame these things, because sure enough, there's someone who's listening to this and they're thinking, oh, you know, maybe want to go more plant-based or go vegan. You know, there are going to be challenges. Like, I think that's just, you know, to be going against the grain of society. It's not always going to be easy. And I think that, you know, it's really that point about having a strong enough why, like knowing why you want to be vegan and why it's so important to you. If you can keep coming back to that, keep reminding yourself of that whenever you're facing those more challenging situations, that's really, really helpful. So the next thing I want to ask everyone about, what is, let's say one thing, and let's do another rapid fire here. So let's go 30 seconds or less. One thing that you wish everyone knew about plant-based eating, like whether that's a misconception or like, to get things started off, I'll say one thing I wish everyone knew. I wish everyone knew that every single whole plant food has all of the essential amino acids, AKA protein, right? If everybody could just know that every single plant has all the essential, I'll say it again a bit louder, has all the essential amino acids, then that would really, really help. Because how many people say, oh, you know, you're a vegan, you got to like do rocket science to make sure you're matching your protein and your amino acids. Like, no, it's not. Like, all you got to do is make sure you're eating a wide variety, and you should be good. So I wish everybody knew that. I don't know if anyone has something that you just want to shout from the rooftops, you wish everyone knew, now's your chance. Try to get it in 30 seconds or left. Let's go around. How about pass it to you, Muzamil? What do you think?
You stole the one I was going to use, but I just wish people knew that how healthy you can be, because people are worried that they're going to become deficient. But the truth of the matter is complete opposite. So I just wish people, like, you know, not only knew they won't be unhealthy, but also like all the benefits that all of us have seen, that, you know, you can go plant-based and you will see myriad of benefits. So I wish people just knew that.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Pearl?
Well, Muzamil took mine. I think we're going domino order. So I'm going to share that I wish people knew that it doesn't mean you have to cut out all your favorite things, all your favorite foods. Everyone always says, oh, but I have to eat broccoli or salads all the time. Like, no, you can still have a great, amazing diet, right? So that's one thing I wish people knew, that they can still eat amazingly eating plant-based.
Yeah, great. That's an awesome one. How about you, Florian?
Right, I was afraid Matt is going to steal mine. So there's two things that I kind of wish, you know, people would know. First thing is just there's no real rational reason why not to go plant-based or vegan for most human beings. So it's great for the environment, it's great for the animals, and it can be a great fundament for your own personal health. That's the second thing. While it is a fundament for your health, it doesn't mean that you will be healthy just after going plant-based. So it's a tool, like a bicycle. You have to first learn how to use the bicycle. If you learn how to use the bicycle, you will improve your human motion. It's way better. You can travel everywhere you want to go faster, but first you have to learn how to ride that bicycle. And if you don't, you're gonna fall flat on your face, on your knees. So it's awesome, first thing, but learn how to ride the bicycle.
No joke, Pearl stole mine. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that, and this isn't necessarily a vegan thing or a plant-based thing, but it's such a common misconception that soy is a healthy food for children, for men, for women. Doesn't really matter unless you have an allergy. It's a perfectly healthy food to eat.
Love that one. Yeah, some real gems in there. Florian, I kept thinking about the bicycle. It's sort of like, people if you go and you ride a bicycle, but you try to pedal with your hands and then you blame the bicycle, then it's not going to work well. You got to make sure you're doing things right. And so that's why it's great to get all of us together and hopefully give people some guidance as to how to do it and succeed and thrive. So I think the next thing I'd like to get into here, we're kind of coming to the end and we want to have some time for questions. I think one thing I'd like to hear from all of you is in the next, if you could look forward now to the next 5 years, right now it's really, I think it's such an exciting time to be in this space because there's so much happening. There's so many companies. There's, here in Canada, we have, we had the Canada Food Guide make some pretty serious changes in 2019 in terms of the tone that they're setting for the food people should be eating and promoting more plant-based. There's lots of things happening, lots of changes happening. But what do all of you want to see happen in the next 5 years? And you can go anywhere with this, whether you want to go to the edge, talk about some changes you want to see in the the healthcare system or the education system or, just the food supply system in general. What would you like to see? Something that I would really like to see, really is to do with the shifting of government subsidies. I know here in Canada, there's so much money that is going to animal agriculture. Over the last 10 years or so, it's been 89% of government food subsidies, according to Nation Rising, which is a group here in Canada that everybody should check out. Go check out Nation Rising if you don't know them. They're trying to make these kinds of shifts happen and get more funding into plant-based foods. So 89% of government food subsidies in the last 10 years have gone towards they've gone towards animal agriculture. Only 11% is going towards plants for human consumption. I see that as a huge opportunity for change, to start shifting things so that we can make plant foods more accessible, more affordable. And really right now, companies that are trying to create plant-based alternatives, they're not playing on a level playing field, right? These industries, these products that are coming out of animal agriculture, they're propped up basically by government subsidies. And this is not unique to Canada. It's happening here in Canada, and I'm a bit more familiar with the numbers here, but you can look all around the world and you'll see similar things. So that's one change I'd really like to see happen. I would encourage anybody who feels passionate about this to go check out Nation Rising, support them, book a meeting with your member of parliament and just let them know that you want to see this change as a Canadian. I don't want to see my tax dollars going to fund, an industry that's promoting, sickness and, environmental destruction and exploitation of animals. I don't want to see that. So if we speak up and try to make these changes happen, I think that's a really powerful thing that we could see happen. We could make major changes in a couple of years. So that's it from me. But I want to hear from all of you. Take it anywhere you want in terms of changes you want to see in the next 5 years. Dr. Matthew Nagra, I'll pass it to you first.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Canada Food Guide, and I thought that was such a huge step that we made a couple of years ago. But what I'd like to see now regarding that is, since we have these guidelines, is to integrate that into grade school education. So not just medical education, maybe Muzma will touch on that, but starting in elementary, middle school, high school, letting children know about the benefits of certain foods, the potential risks of certain foods, how to construct a healthy dietary pattern, because that's going to lead to more health, down the road, and can lead to shifts in the overall kind of what the population is eating, as you've mentioned, leading to those other benefits as far as environment and whatnot as well.
Yeah, great point. And I love that. Sorry, I'm choking on my water here a little bit. Pearl, I'll pass it over to you while I try to recover.
Hope you're okay, Jason. Yeah, Dr. Montenegro, I completely agree with that one. I was going to say that everyone keeps stealing my stuff. No, I'm kidding. But we all have very similar mindsets, which I love. So I want to share what I really want to see happen is a more preventative approach to health and alleviating symptoms and just overall health. Like there's so many things that can be relieved or fixed for the most part, just through changing our lifestyle habits, changing our dietary patterns, what we eat, how we move, our environment, like what we're using on our skin, like so many things that we can really make a big difference. Like I've had, especially you guys share some things that like your migraines, Ms. Emil, and just like feeling better overall, like from eating, we can have amazing results. And I think that's such a big gap in the system because we're very much more reactive versus proactive. And I would love to see a bigger shift towards encouraging, like, hey, before you think about putting all these pills down your throat, maybe look at your diet. And I know we're getting better at that for sure, but I'd love to see like a really big push where everyone's thinking about their dietary and lifestyle habits first before thinking of the medications.
Absolutely. Florian, I'll pass it over to you next.
I think I have the same angle with you there, with the governmental regulations, Jason. That would be really nice to see, but I think it will likely be more a 10, 20, 30-year time frame that we're touching base upon, because I think the minimizing factor to this, or the limiting factor, or the bottleneck to achieving this, is really the economy of scale for vegan companies, such as Beyond Meat, Eat Just Inc., and those other awesome companies that will really make sure that the green premium, essentially, of vegan products goes down. Because once consumer demand shifts to more plant-based meat alternatives, or plant-based egg alternatives, and plant-based milk alternatives, the government has also more incentives to really shift those regulations. Because right now, if you have an industry that employs a lot of people, I mean, you're kind of dependent on them. You cannot just say, look, we're gonna switch to plant-based meat. I mean, I would love they say so, but it will be a rather drastic shift. So I think the way it will really come about is through governmental regulations. And there's three things I think that we can do to do that. Is number one, support vegan companies, either by buying their stuff or investing in companies. That's a great thing. It's kind of team right now in the US with the investing, with the Robinhood stuff and all that. And the third thing I think that would be good is just being the best that you can be and improving yourself, so that the people around you can already positively influence. So I think these are three things to really make sure, if you want to promote a healthy vegan plant-based lifestyle, that's the way to go with those three strategies.
We got to make it happen faster than that. I'm glad you agree, but I think the timeline, we gotta make it happen. We gotta figure out a way. If it's, people are employed, it's like, okay, well, let's figure out ways to transition these businesses and these farmers and this whole system. Let's figure out ways to incentivize that shift. And I mean, we can have more back and forth on that. I love talking about this stuff, but I think there's a way to make it happen faster, and it's important enough that we got to make it happen faster. That we don't have 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, I think the faster the better. Obviously, we want it to be, as smooth a transition as possible. We don't want people, we don't want mass amounts of people without jobs and struggling to, provide for themselves. We want to try to navigate that as best makes sense, but I think we can do it pretty quickly. I'm going to say 5 years. I want it faster. So wait, do we get everybody switching around? I think do we hear from you on this? Muzamil, it's your turn, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of amazing points. I do want to bring up the medical school thing, because at the end of the day, most people trust what doctors have to say in regards to their health. And it's just unfortunate that the majority of doctors are not educated on the lifestyle factors of it. I know exactly how much goes into the medical curriculum, because one, I am going through medical school, but two, I've also taken a deep dive into the medical curriculum. And it's very problematic when the average doctor knows as much as the average layman about nutrition. And then the average layman goes to the doctor for advice, hearing what they already know and leading to basically no good change. So that is a huge problem. So I think two things really should change in the medical curriculum. One is incorporating more nutrition into it in all the different blocks. The other thing that's often never talked about is incorporating planetary health into the medical curriculum, because planetary health has a direct impact on human health. And if we're talking about human health, we need to be talking about it from all different angles, and we need to be talking about planetary health. So these are two things I would personally really like to see in the future, and I'm hoping to work towards making that change in Canada. So that's kind of my plan.
And I just got to add, Muzamil, because I always got to let people know about this, you know, that you are a medical student, but you've done a lot of really great work, you know, developing the curriculum at your school. You know, you put your hand up when there was, you know, things that have been said in class, and you went and fact checked them. And now the curriculum at your particular school, at least, hopefully we'll get, you know, more schools on board with these kinds of things. But, you know, you identified some issues, and you went and spoke to people who are, you know, in the administration who are, you know, would be the ones to talk to about making these changes. And they've updated, you know, a lot of the information that's being taught around plant-based eating as a result of you taking that action. So I always like to, you know, I think that's such a great example of something that you've done to, you know, just move things forward in this regard. So yeah, I want everybody to kind of know that. And I always like to give you props for that, Muzamil, because I think that's solid, and it's really inspiring stuff. So okay, great. I think we are coming up to, we've just got a few more minutes here. It looks like we've got about 7 minutes left. So want to open it up. If anybody has questions, if you're watching this and there's you know, something that you want to hear anybody elaborate on, feel free to either use the Q&A function, or you can type in the chat, whatever you prefer. One thing that I would, just while we're waiting for, you know, if anybody's got questions, one thing that I always like to sort of clarify, because I know, Pearl, you were talking about, you know, eating balanced meals and, you know, the different sort of, you know, macronutrient, I guess, you know, ratios, making sure you got your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. I think it's interesting to maybe go into like a little bit more what that looks like what balance kind of looks like, because people think they get, you know, it can be confusing, you know, thinking about, you know, high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, you know, carbohydrates, like talking about carbohydrates, like what are carbohydrates? A lot of people are confused about that. And some people, whenever they hear carbs, they're thinking cakes and, you know, potato chips and things like that, which are actually, they're very high in fat, but, you know, we don't think about the fat that's in those foods. We think about the sugar, and we think about the, you know, the potatoes. And, you know, I've had even people tell me that, you know, if I'm having like a cup of blueberries on my oatmeal in the morning, that's too much sugar and I'm going to wind up with diabetes. So can we please clarify this? I love clarifying this point. So I'm going to take the, you know, the opportunity, and I'd love to ask, maybe Dr. Matthew Negra, I'd love to go to you on this one, and just sort of, if you could break it down for us. Because I know we had a question about diabetes, and would just love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, carbs get such a bad rap, and I still don't know why. I mean, if we go back to the global burden of disease studies, the largest study on disease and death risk factors in the world, they found the #1 killer worldwide is diet. No surprises there. But amongst dietary factors, the #2 and the #3 risk factors for premature death were not enough whole grains and not enough fruit. #1 was too much sodium, which is obviously a marker for processed food intake. So people aren't eating enough of the whole grains and fruits, and it is likely in some places around the world driven by just lack of access, but in other places it may be due to that fear or, you know, hesitancy around carbohydrate intake. Now we know that different carbohydrate sources affect our you know, blood sugar levels, our fat production in our liver differently. Whole fruits or whole grains do not lead to these spikes in blood sugar. They do not promote things like you know, heart disease and that. And in fact, they actually combat it. Whole grains are probably amongst the most protective foods against most chronic diseases. Whole grains and nuts and seeds are probably right up there. Whereas whole fruit intake, like we have studies on people eating, you know, 20 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, largely fruit intake, showing no negative impact other than really large bowel movements. So I don't see any reason for concern around fruit intake. In fact, we should be emphasizing fruit intake. I know I eat a ton of fruit, and I know you do too, Jason. And yeah, it's just something that we need to really clear up, because these foods are incredibly health promoting.
Matt, do you have an article on this that people can go read up? Because I think you might.
I do have Instagram posts on it. I have one on fruit. I have one on whole grains and diabetes. I have an older one just on diabetes in general. And so If you go to my Instagram account and go to my carbohydrate guide, I have a guide on there. It links to all my posts on the topic. And I can't remember if I made an article for my website. I might have, but it would have been a while ago at this point.
Awesome. We've got a question here, but does anyone else want to weigh in on the issue of sort of balance and macronutrients, helping people thinking about different where to get the carbohydrates from? Like Matt, I think you hit on it really well there. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, but feel free. Mill, Florian, Pearl.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that people obsess too much about like macronutrient breakdown, because I see people asking. I get this question a lot on my Instagram. What's the right macronutrient breakdown? My personal trainer told me this, and I'm finding it really hard. They told me 30%, and I'm at 28%, and I'm finding it really hard to get to the 30%. And I'm like, you guys need to calm down. When we just look at the blue zones, for example, like some people eat a lot more carbohydrates, and some people eat a bit, like the Mediterranean blue zones eat more healthy fats, whereas Okinawans eat a ton of most of the huge part of the calories from carbohydrates. So there's a varied range. At the end of the day, it's about eating whole foods, predominantly plant-based. I eat 100% plant-based, but it's about whole foods. If you want to eat more nuts and seeds, do that. If you want to eat more avocados, do that. If you want to eat lots of fruits, like myself and a lot of people here, do that. It just, at the end of the day, it's like stick to whole foods, and that should be the foundation of your nutrition.
All right. I mean, you just mentioned nuts and seeds, and we do have a question here. Shay is asking, should nuts and seeds be soaked to detox before consuming? Anyone feel free to unmute if anyone wants to weigh in on that one.
I would say no, that they don't have to be. For some people with digestive concerns, usually more for legumes though, but can help with nuts and seeds. To possibly soak them might make it a little easier on digestion, but otherwise I don't see any reason to have to soak them ahead of time. And as far as detox, I'm assuming you mean to lower like anti-nutrient levels, phytates, those sorts of things. There's really no reason to be concerned about that.
Same here. I think, I'm a fan of flax seeds. So when I do eat seeds, I make sure that they're, pre-grounded so they get easily absorbed. But with the soaking thing, that is likely unnecessary.
All right. Well, if that covers the nuts and seed question, I think the next thing, Banu has asked a question here, and this is probably the last one we'll get to because we've got to wrap up right about now. But Banu asks, he says, I'm vegetarian, read about the vegan diet and its benefits. However, I still have not got that move or mind shift to make the switch. Any advice? So I guess it's maybe an issue of motivation, if I'm reading it correctly. So would anyone like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I'll just chime in quickly. Oh, Muslim, want to go? Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I do a lot of work around mindset because I think ultimately when it comes to making a change, you need to have a deep desire, a deep drive, a deep why as to why you're doing what you're doing, because making changes is a challenge and you need to rewire a lot of patterns that you have been doing for probably, I don't know how old you are, but maybe 10, 20 years, right? So I think asking yourself why you want to make this change. And as you know, there are benefits and everyone knows that eating healthier is better for us overall, but what's your real reason why? And like dig deeper. I really encourage people to go deep and link it to something that's going to have an emotional response, because we don't really take action unless it's something emotional. Usually it happens when people have like negative effects or like they have a disease or something negative happens, but it doesn't have to be that way. So I encourage you to dig deeper a little bit, find your emotional reason why you want to make a change. And it's going to have to just start doing it to gain momentum. You're just going to have to start at one point and keep it up. So that's my advice.
I want to add as well, I think when we say, because it is so important to find that reason that really resonates with you and that makes you feel okay with sort of doing some things that might be a bit uncomfortable at first, and to get outside your comfort zone. It's like, it's worth it because what is it that's important to you? But I guess the trouble is if someone doesn't really have that, it's like, well, how do you just find it, right? So maybe we can all recommend, like if you have like a documentary or a book, something that you found to be particularly, resonated with you. For me, it was an album, but I mean, I remember watching, if you can sit through it and watch a film like Dominion, right? Like, or Earthlings, right? These documentaries that they really put you inside of our current, food system, which is exploiting animals on just like an unimaginable scale, like to sit down and actually spend 90 minutes or however long the film is to really look at where your food is coming from if you're consuming these animal products. It really is. I mean, this is a yoga event. People who are here, it's spirituality, compassion, empathy. We need to extend this to animals, don't we? Right. And to create a better world, and to just be witnessing and knowing what's happening to these animals. I find that to be very powerful, but for some people they may not. And so there might be a health documentary or a book. Like, I'd love to hear from other people if there's maybe from the health angle or the environmental angle, or whatever angle any of you have sort of approached this from, just any resources or things that people can check out if they're looking for something. Florian, I see you're
happy to go into it. I think you will likely see a pattern in what motivated you, because there is some baseline motivation there for you to ask this question, and for something that piqued your interest in the vegan or plant-based nutrition. So that could be maybe for the animals, there could be maybe you've seen the documentary Game Changers, it could be a completely different kind of spark. And you really need to think about, okay, what provoked you initially and what created this spark for you to be interested in this? Because likely if you double down on this, that will give you enough kind of momentum to really do this for yourself. And again, the last thing I would say is you need to battle with some uncertainty there. Make sure that you are not at 100%, but 80% sure before making this decision, but then don't overthink this. Don't overthink this. You will figure this out as you go, and make sure that you don't go in blindfolded, 80% clarity, but afterwards make the decision, don't procrastinate, and let's do this for yourself.
Muzamil, Matthew, anything to add here before we wrap up? I know we're a couple minutes over, so we'll pass it over to you, Rachel, in just a sec, but Muzamil, Dr. Matthew.
Yeah, amazing things said. At the end of the day, there's so many reasons to do it. Just find your why. And I was just going to say, if anyone doesn't know where to start, they can head over to my website, drplantbased.ca. There's a plant-based nutrition transition guide they can download for free that can help them. A lot of the questions they're asking right now are in there, so that can help them with their journey.
And I'll take a bit of a different approach to the question. If you're looking for motivation, you don't quite have the motivation or the mindset yet to really dive in 100%, start small. Start with one meal a day. Start with breakfast. We listed off a few of our breakfasts, I guess, earlier in this chat, and start with something like that, and then move on to lunch, and then move on to dinner when you feel comfortable. But just take it step by step, and you'll get there eventually.
Awesome stuff. Well, this has been a fun chat with you all. Really, thanks so much for coming and being on this panel with me. You've all been great. I think we've given a lot of little gems and things for people to think about. So really appreciate you all taking the time. Rachel, I'll pass it back over to you.
Well, thank you all so much for your time. And thank you again, Florian, for joining in so late at night over there in Poland. And again, wishing you all a very happy Father's Day and summer season ahead, guys. So thank you so much for being here. And Jason, thanks for leading the way today. And again, I'm just going to put up this here so you can get more information on all of our panelists today. I want to say a very special thank you to Jason Fonger again, our vegan triathlete, our moderator today. You can check him out at jasonfonger.com. Also want to say a very special thank you to Muzamil Ahmed, our plant-based nutritionist, for being here today. And follow along. The handle is there, dr.plantbased. Also want to say a very special thank you to Dr. Matthew Negra, our plant-based naturopath here located in Vancouver, BC. Thank you for being here today. And please follow along at dr.matthewnegra. Also want to say a special thank you to Pearl Cece, joining in all the way from the beautiful Nicaragua today, our plant-based nutritionalist. Thank you again so much for being here, and please check her out at Pearl Cece. Also, I want to say thank you to Florian West for joining in today from Poland, our plant-based fitness trainer. Please check him out. He has lots of amazing content. YouTube is wonderful to see some some awesome videos there. So thank you all so much for being here today. And again, thank you for sharing such insight and educating us on all these wonderful things. So thank you so much. Much appreciated. And have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to hearing and seeing you continuing on your journeys. Thank you for your inspiration, all of you. Very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. See you later. All right, everyone. At this time, I do want to take just a quick moment to let you know that we have our 7th souvenir here. And inside, we have, it's printed on recycled, 100% recycled paper. And also inside, we have a beautiful message here from our mayor here of the city of Vancouver, as well as a message from Aditya Tevatia, who is the president and founder of the Yoga Health Expo Foundation. Thank you so much. You can check it out. Also, there are some articles. We are going to be putting this as well up on our website. We'll link our website down below so you can check it out. Jason Fonger has wrote an article in there. Also, Florian West has shared something with us inside our souvenir this year. And also Bill and Wendy Terra. So make sure you check that out. Also, I want to say, sorry, my correction there. Bill and Marlene Watson Terra also have an article inside the souvenir. So check it out on our website, which is linked here at the bottom. Also at this time, I do want to take just a moment and I want to say that I would like to share a very special message with all of you from Aditya Tevatia. And I want to bring up his message here for us all today to close our day. And so just give us a second here to set it up, and I'm very happy to share it with all of you. I want to convey my heartiest congratulations, thanks, and gratitude to all of our viewers and our well-wishers across the globe on our 7th annual Yoga and Health Expo. Preserving the beauty of our world and maintaining a sustainable ecosystem requires each individual to take responsibility for their actions against nature and no longer be complacent with the current state of the planet. We as people also need to be united and not dependent on the government to shoulder our duties and take action for us. The yogic way of life provides solutions to global warming, causing irreversible damage to our oceans, our forests, and reducing the livable habitat available to the animals and senseless violence against other sentient beings. Our organization believes in the yogic approach to shape our attitudes, habits, and general way of life to be congruent with our philosophies and ethics of yoga, to garner spiritual insight and tranquility with nature through insightfulness to impact Mother Earth. My journey has presented me with many challenges to overcome, but I was fortunately surrounded by a community of people who have given me love and support along the way. I look forward to seeing you all at our 8th Yoga and Health Expo. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that was a special message there today by our founder and our visionary here at the Yoga and Health Expo. And again, I want to say a very special thank you to the entire team for being here today, as well as a very special thank you to every single one of our speakers, our panelists, for being present here and sharing so much love and insight to things that we can all do to live a more healthy life, both for ourselves and for our communities and our planet. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I want to say a special thank you to our viewers, and again, a very special thank you to all of our sponsors for joining in and making today possible virtually here. A special thank you to Western Community College for hosting our 7th annual Yoga and Health Expo as well. I also want to say to everyone out there, happy Father's Day if you are celebrating here, and wishing you all a wonderful summer season. Thank you again so much, and we are looking forward to seeing you at our 8th International Yoga and Health Expo. Thank you again so much, everyone. It's been a real pleasure to be your event MC this year. My name is Rachel Bowe, and again, thank you so much for this encouraging message, and wishing you all, again, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your insight on these beautiful messages we're sharing with the world. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and again, we'll see you next year.